Welcome, fellow thrill seekers and lovers of the macabre, to a journey that will send shivers down your spine and leave you questioning the very shadows that dance in the moonlight. Tonight, we delve into the heart of Virginia's most haunted forest trails, where eerie lights flicker at midnight and the whispers of the past echo through the rustling leaves. From the dense Appalachian woods to the forgotten hollows of the Piedmont, these trails are steeped in legends and ghostly tales that have withstood the test of time. So, gather around the campfire, for the stories you're about to hear are not for the faint of heart. Bluff Mountain, near Buena Vista, Virginia, is a section of the Appalachian Trail that stretches through dense forests, steep ridges, and rocky outcroppings, offering hikers a challenging yet scenic passage through the Blue Ridge Mountains. While its natural beauty draws many outdoor enthusiasts, Bluff Mountain has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted trails in the United States. Locals and hikers alike report an array of unexplained phenomena: flickering lights in the distance, ghostly apparitions moving through the trees, and an oppressive sense of dread that seems to follow anyone who dares to trek its isolated paths. The combination of rugged terrain, isolation, and dense woodlands makes Bluff Mountain a hotspot for paranormal activity, where the line between the natural world and the supernatural feels disturbingly thin. Visitors often note that the atmosphere of Bluff Mountain changes subtly the moment they enter the trail. During the day, the sunlight filtering through the dense canopy creates shifting patterns of light and shadow, but as evening approaches, the forest seems to grow heavier, almost alive with unseen observation. Hikers frequently describe sudden drops in temperature, even on warm summer days, accompanied by the rustle of leaves and the snap of twigs underfoot. Despite being alone on the trail, this heightened sense of awareness is often the first indication that Bluff Mountain is not an ordinary stretch of wilderness, but a place where the past and present overlap in unsettling ways. One of the most commonly reported phenomena on Bluff Mountain is the appearance of unexplained lights. Hikers have seen small orbs, lantern-like glows, and flickering lights dancing in the distance, often moving against the wind or appearing to hover above the forest floor. These lights have been reported at various times of day, though they are most common near dusk and during nighttime hikes. Some witnesses describe the lights as beckoning, almost guiding them deeper into the woods, only to vanish the moment approached. Skeptics may attribute these sightings to lanterns, insects, or reflections, but the consistency of reports and the impossibility of locating the source of the lights leave many convinced they are paranormal in nature. Ghostly apparitions are another frequent occurrence along the trail. Hikers report seeing translucent figures moving between trees, often resembling hikers from eras long past, dressed in clothing unfamiliar to the modern eye. Some figures appear fleetingly, vanishing when attention is focused, while others linger, seemingly observing those who pass. The apparitions are often described as having an otherworldly presence, an intensity that conveys both sadness and warning. Many hikers believe these ghosts are spirits of individuals who perished on the mountain over the centuries, whether from accidents, exposure, or conflicts that took place in the surrounding region. The dense woods and rugged terrain amplify the unsettling experiences reported on Bluff Mountain. Sounds travel strangely through the forest. The snap of a branch may echo unnaturally, and rustling leaves can seem to follow a hiker's every step. Some visitors report hearing disembodied footsteps behind them, matching their pace even when no one else is present, or whispers that appear to come from every direction at once. Others describe hearing cries, sighs, or low murmurs that vanish as quickly as they emerge. These auditory phenomena contribute to the feeling of being constantly watched and create an atmosphere of tension that grows as hikers progress along the trail. Isolation is a defining factor in the haunting of Bluff Mountain. The trail is far from roads and often sparsely traveled, particularly after sunset. Hikers recount moments when they realize they are utterly alone, yet cannot shake the feeling of being followed or observed. This sense of solitude is compounded by the rugged topography, with steep ridges, narrow paths, and sudden drops that can disorient even experienced hikers. Many who experience paranormal events report a simultaneous fascination and fear, compelled to continue along the trail, despite the presence of ghostly figures or unsettling lights. Several accounts from overnight hikers illustrate the intensity of the haunting. As they watched, the light moved closer, then abruptly disappeared, leaving no trace of a path or figure. Later that night, they were awakened by what sounded like soft footsteps circling their campsite. Though no one was visible in the shadows, despite repeated attempts to explain the occurrences, the hikers left the mountain convinced that they had encountered something beyond the ordinary. Another story involves a solo hiker ascending the trail just before nightfall. As she rounded a bend in the ridge, she saw a figure standing in the middle of the path, partially obscured by fog and shadows. The figure did not move immediately, but as she approached, it dissipated into mist, leaving only a chill in the air. Moments later, she heard faint whispers in a language she could not understand, carried on the wind through the trees. Her sense of unease intensified as she continued along the trail, and she later reported feeling watched for the remainder of the hike, despite being entirely alone. The history of the region surrounding Bluff Mountain adds context to its spectral activity. The Appalachian Mountains have long been home to Native Americans, settlers, and travelers, many of whom met untimely or violent deaths. Tragedies, battles, and disappearances have all occurred in the area over centuries. And some believe that the mountain preserves the memories and energies of those who passed here. The landscape itself, danced woods, steep cliffs, and hidden hollow seems to amplify these lingering presences, allowing them to manifest as lights, sounds, or apparitions for those sensitive to their energy. Despite the fearsome reports, Bluff Mountain is also regarded with reverence by many who hike its trails. Visitors frequently describe a profound connection to the past, a sense that the mountain itself is alive with memory. Those who approach the trail with respect often report encounters that are more subtle: a flickering light at a distance, a shadow that moves with the wind, or a faint echo of footsteps behind them. The mountain seems to reward mindfulness and caution, but those who tread carelessly may feel the full intensity of its haunting. Old House Woods, in Matthews County, Virginia, is a forest steeped in mystery, where history and legend intertwine to create one of the most haunted locations in the state. The woods are dense, with towering oaks and pines that allow only slivers of sunlight to reach the forest floor, casting shadows that shift and twist as the day progresses. Locals have long whispered of ghostly encounters within this stretch of wilderness, recounting tales of spectral ships hovering overhead, soldiers from the Revolutionary War digging for hidden treasure, and headless cow ghosts roaming the undergrowth. Eerie lights flicker between the trees, and visitors often leave with an unsettling feeling that they were not alone, as if the spirits of the past continue to move unseen among the living. One of the most striking legends of Old House Woods involves ghost ships. Witnesses have reported seeing the translucent outlines of vessels floating high above the treetops, illuminated by a faint, otherworldly glow. These apparitions are said to appear especially on foggy nights, hovering silently as if sailing through the air rather than water. Some describe the ships as old merchant or pirate vessels, their sails tattered, masts creaking in a wind no one can feel. Locals believe these are the spirits of sailors lost at sea, their souls unable to rest and searching endlessly for their vessels. Those who witness the phenomenon often feel a deep sense of awe, tinged with fear, as the silent, glowing ships drift slowly through the sky before disappearing without a trace. Another haunting feature of Old House Woods is the presence of ghostly British soldiers from the Revolutionary War. According to legend, these soldiers were buried with treasures or were in pursuit of gold, and their spirits now remain in the forest, eternally engaged in their quest. Hikers and paranormal enthusiasts have reported seeing figures dressed in red coats, sometimes digging into the earth or marching silently along the trails. These apparitions are described as precise and deliberate, their movements seemingly unaffected by the passing of centuries. Some witnesses even claim to have heard faint commands shouted in archaic British English or the distant clatter of muskets. Despite the woods being completely empty, the soldiers are said to vanish when approached, leaving only disturbed soil or faint footprints as evidence of their spectral presence. Headless cow ghosts are another eerie aspect of the woods' supernatural lore. Locals recount sightings of spectral livestock wandering through the underbrush, their forms semi-transparent and ethereal. These ghostly cows are sometimes seen grazing or moving as if searching for something lost, and their headless forms are said to symbolize unnatural deaths or tragedies that befell them long ago. Witnesses describe a palpable sense of unease when encountering these apparitions, as the animal's unnatural appearance and slow, deliberate movements create an atmosphere of tension and dread. The headless cows are believed to serve as reminders of the forest's long history and the restless spirits that linger, tied to both the land and the events that took place upon it. Adding to the haunting are the ghostly women said to wander the woods. Stories tell of a lone female figure, often appearing at dusk or under the cover of night, moving silently between the trees. She is described as wearing flowing garments, sometimes tattered, with her face partially obscured by shadows or long hair. Those who have encountered her often feel an overwhelming sadness or sorrow emanating from her presence. Some legends suggest she is a woman who lost her family or loved ones, doomed to roam the forest forever. Attempts to approach or communicate with her, reportedly, result in her vanishing instantly, leaving an empty clearing and the lingering impression of grief. Eerie lights add another layer of the supernatural to Old House Woods. Visitors frequently report seeing flickering orbs of light weaving between the trees, sometimes hovering over the forest floor or floating above the canopy. These lights are believed to be the spirits of lost sailors searching for their vessels, a visual manifestation of souls caught between the mortal world and the afterlife. Witnesses often describe feeling drawn toward these lights, compelled to follow them, only to find that the orbs vanish when approached. The flickering lights are not always predictable in movement or intensity, appearing and disappearing in ways that defy explanation, leaving those who observe them with a deep sense of awe and trepidation. The combination of spectral ships, soldiers, ghostly livestock, wandering women, and flickering lights creates an atmosphere unlike any other. Hikers and visitors report sudden temperature drops, an inexplicable weight in the air, and a sense that they are being watched at all times. Footsteps are often heard behind them on trails, despite the area being deserted, and the forest seems to carry the echoes of centuries of human and animal activity. Even in broad daylight, there is a sense of unease, as if the spirits are merely waiting for darkness to deepen, ready to resume their spectral routines. Several accounts illustrate the intensity of the haunting. One hiker described walking through the forest just before dusk when he noticed faint, flickering lights hovering near a clearing. As he approached, the lights danced away, revealing the translucent outline of a British soldier digging in the soil. Moments later, he saw the faint silhouette of a ghostly woman gliding between the trees, her presence accompanied by a sudden chill. The hiker left the woods with a lingering feeling of being observed, convinced he had encountered more than imagination. Old House Woods has endured for centuries, its history layered with tales of tragedy, loss, and unexplained events, from Revolutionary War soldiers to shipwrecked sailors, headless livestock to grieving spirits. The forest preserves these stories in both legend and energy. Visitors leave with a sense of awe and respect, aware that the woods are more than a natural landscape. They are a nexus of history and the supernatural, where the past continues to interact with the present. Roundtree Park in Northern Virginia is an unassuming public space by day, a place where locals jog, walk their dogs, and enjoy the occasional picnic. Yet beneath its mundane surface lies a reputation that has spread quietly through online forums, local whispers, and personal accounts. Among the stories shared, one in particular has captured attention on Reddit, recounting a terrifying encounter with what has come to be known as the Creeper of Roundtree Park. According to this account, the park transforms as one ventures deeper into its forested sections, and the familiar scenery gives way to an oppressive atmosphere where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural feel dangerously blurred. The experience begins innocuously enough. The user described arriving at the park in the late afternoon, noting the stillness of the air and the muted colors of the dense foliage. The usual background noises of distant traffic and birdsong were oddly absent, leaving an unnatural silence that immediately set them on edge. As they stepped onto the narrow trails winding into the wooded area, the sense of quiet grew heavier, almost tactile, as if the very air had weight. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, and the normal sounds of the forest crickets, rustling leaves, and distant calls of wildlife seemed to vanish entirely. The park, normally familiar and welcoming, felt like a different world, one where the natural order had been disrupted. The first unsettling phenomenon reported was the presence of flickering lights among the trees. These lights were not consistent with flashlights, lanterns, or reflections from nearby streets. Instead, they appeared sporadically, darting between trunks, hovering briefly, and then vanishing without warning. At first, the Reddit user tried to rationalize what they saw, perhaps a pair of hikers with headlamps, or fireflies playing in the underbrush, but the movement and speed of the lights made such explanations difficult to sustain. The lights seemed purposeful, almost as if they were drawing attention to something hidden deep within the woods, or signaling the presence of something unseen. As they ventured further, the atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive. The user reported feeling a sensation of being watched, a prickling at the back of the neck that intensified with each step. It was as if the trees themselves were aware, their dense canopies forming a natural barrier that amplified the sense of isolation. The quiet was broken intermittently by faint, disembodied voices. At first, they could not make out words, only whispers that seemed to float in the air, coming from multiple directions at once. The voices were low and urgent, layered atop one another, creating a cacophony of sound that was both confusing and frightening. Attempts to pinpoint the source proved futile. Each time the hiker paused, the whispers seemed to shift, moving from one side of the trail to another. The most chilling part of the encounter came when the Reddit user glimpsed the creeper itself. Descriptions were vague, largely because fear and adrenaline obscured clear observation. But the figure was said to be humanoid in shape, moving swiftly and silently between the trees. Its movements were fluid and unnatural, sometimes appearing partially hidden behind tree trunks, only to suddenly emerge closer than expected. Observers described it as unsettling in its posture, its form elongating and contorting in ways that seemed impossible for a human. The combination of silence, the flickering lights, and the presence of this entity created a mounting sense of dread that made the hiker's skin crawl. Panic eventually forced a retreat. The user described turning back toward the entrance, heart racing, only to find the path seemed longer than before, as if the woods themselves were resisting their departure. Shadows stretched across the trail, and the flickering lights appeared behind them, mirroring their movements. The voices continued to whisper, faint but insistent, accompanying each step back to the main park area. When the hiker finally emerged into the open space of the park's clearing, the forest returned to normal. The sounds of birds, wind, and distant traffic resumed as though nothing had occurred. Yet the memory of the encounter, the intensity of the fear, and the images of the creeper lingered, leaving a lasting impression. The haunting nature of Roundtree Park is enhanced by its dense woodland and isolated trails. The forest creates natural corridors where light is blocked, shadows deepen, and sounds are amplified or distorted. This environment provides the perfect backdrop for paranormal phenomena, where even ordinary movements can seem exaggerated and the mind may play tricks on perception. But multiple accounts, including the Reddit post, suggest that there is more than mere imagination at work. The combination of unexplained lights, disembodied voices, and a consistently reported humanoid presence points to something genuinely unusual within these woods. Locals share that the creeper of Roundtree Park is not malevolent in the sense of causing direct harm, but its presence is deeply unsettling. Encounters leave a lasting impression of vulnerability, a reminder that the forest may harbor things beyond human understanding. The stories serve as both caution and fascination. The park is accessible, familiar, and ordinary by day, but by night or even in quiet, isolated moments, It becomes a place where the ordinary rules of reality may no longer apply. Visitors to Roundtree Park are often drawn to its natural beauty, its quiet trails, and the sense of solitude it provides. Yet those who explore the deeper sections of the woods may find themselves face to face with phenomena that defy explanation. Flickering lights, whispers in the darkness, and the fleeting, unnerving glimpse of a humanoid figure combine to create an experience that is equal parts awe-inspiring and terrifying. The Reddit account of the creeper stands as a modern testament to the park's haunted reputation, a story that continues to be shared, discussed, and experienced by those willing to venture into the forest. Hickory Ridge, in Spotsylvania, Virginia, is a forested expanse that, by day, appears serene and inviting, with winding trails, dense hardwoods, and the quiet rustle of leaves underfoot. Yet, as night falls, the area transforms into a place that local legend and paranormal enthusiasts describe as chilling and otherworldly. The forest is home to the infamous Halls of Hysteria, a haunted trail event designed to challenge visitors with staged scares, flickering lights, and unexpected movements. Though intended as entertainment, the trail's unsettling atmosphere, combined with the natural isolation and history of the woods, has led many to report experiences that blur the line between fear created by theatrical effects and something far more genuine. The Halls of Hysteria is designed to exploit human psychology, drawing on the primal fears of the dark, isolation, and the unknown. Visitors enter a labyrinth of paths where every shadow seems alive, every sound amplified, and every flicker of light potentially hiding something unseen. Fog machines, strobe lights, and actors in elaborate costumes create moments of intense surprise. Yet many hikers and thrill seekers report that the trail seems to take on a life of its own. Even after the event concludes, the woods remain charged with an oppressive energy, leaving some convinced that the forest itself is haunted. One of the most commonly reported features of Hickory Ridge at night is the appearance of flickering lights. Witnesses often describe a magnetic pull toward these lights, feeling compelled to follow them deeper into the forest, only to find that they vanished the moment approached. Some theorists suggest these lights are the manifestation of lingering spirits or the residual energy of past events in the area, while others insist they are tricks of the mind, fueled by the trail's intentionally disorienting environment. Alongside these mysterious lights, hikers frequently report sudden movements in their peripheral vision. Shadows appear to shift and twist between the trees, sometimes taking on vaguely humanoid shapes, vanishing when confronted directly. This effect, amplified by the dim lighting and dense woods, creates an unrelenting sense of paranoia. Many participants report the feeling of being followed, of eyes watching from unseen places, or of something moving just beyond the edge of perception. The mind, already on high alert from the staged scares of the Halls of Hysteria, struggles to separate illusion from reality, leaving a lasting impression of dread. Auditory phenomena add another layer to the experience. Rustling leaves, snapping twigs, and the distant groans of branches are all common. Yet some visitors claim to hear more deliberate sounds, whispers, faint cries, or footsteps that mirror their own pace. The voices are often unintelligible, layered over one another, giving the impression of multiple entities communicating in a language long forgotten. In some reports, hikers claim to have heard muffled laughter or guttural noises emanating from the forest interior, even when no other people were present. The combination of sights and sounds creates a sensory environment that feels almost supernatural, leaving visitors on edge and hyper-aware of every small disturbance. Several personal accounts illustrate the intensity of the trail's haunting. One hiker described encountering a figure just beyond the flickering light of a lantern. The silhouette was humanoid, but distorted, moving with jerky, unnatural motions. As the hiker approached, the figure seemed to dissolve into mist, leaving behind only the faint outline of a shadow. At the same time, a whisper carried through the trees, incomprehensible yet urgent, compelling the hiker to retreat. Another visitor reported being startled by lights darting across the path, only to see them converge into a single glowing orb that hovered silently at eye level before disappearing. In both cases, the hikers left the woods shaken, unsure whether what they had experienced was a product of the trail's theatrical design or a genuine encounter with something unexplainable. The psychological effect of Hickory Ridge cannot be understated. The halls of hysteria deliberately plays on fear and expectation, heightening the senses and leaving participants vulnerable to suggestion. Even small environmental factors, rustling leaves, the uneven trail, or distant animal calls can take on a sinister quality. For those unfamiliar with the forest, the isolation itself is unnerving. The path narrows as it winds deeper into the woods. Shadows grow longer, and the familiar sounds of civilization fade away. This combination of controlled and uncontrolled stimuli creates a hauntingly immersive experience, in which the line between staged effects and genuine paranormal activity becomes increasingly blurred. Some believe that the woods of Hickory Ridge have long been a gathering place for spirits, their presence intensified by the events staged on the trail. The area's history, though largely mundane, is layered with stories of settlers, travelers, and natural tragedies, and some theorists suggest that residual energies may interact with the environment, producing the lights, shadows, and sounds that continue to be reported. Whether these phenomena are truly supernatural or the result of heightened perception and imagination, the forest maintains a reputation as one of Northern Virginia's most unsettling destinations after dark. Hickory Ridge endures as a place where thrill and terror intertwine. The halls of hysteria challenges visitors to confront fear in all its forms, from practical effects and staged scares to eerie lights and unexplained sounds. Even for those who approach with caution and skepticism, the forest can create experiences that linger long after leaving the trail. Shadows that move without source, whispers that echo in empty woods, and flickering lights that defy explanation all contribute to the park's enduring haunted reputation. Terrace View Trail in Lynchburg, Virginia, is known for its scenic vistas, winding paths, and tranquil forested surroundings. During the day, the trail offers peaceful views of rolling hills, chirping birds, and the gentle rustle of leaves in the wind. But when Halloween approaches, Terrace View Trail takes on a far more unsettling character. Locals and thrill-seekers alike have reported that the trail transforms into a haunted path, where eerie lights flicker among the trees. Shadows move without explanation, and whispered voices drift on the autumn breeze. The combination of natural beauty and supernatural rumor has made Terrace View Trail one of the most talked-about haunted locations in Lynchburg. The Halloween season brings a special atmosphere to Terrace View Trail. While organizers sometimes stage-controlled events with lanterns and light effects, many accounts suggest that the forest itself contributes to the unsettling experience. Visitors often describe pockets of dense fog that roll in unexpectedly, covering sections of the path and amplifying every sound. The fog catches the moonlight in strange ways, creating silhouettes that appear to move independently, or orbs of faint, flickering light that hover just above the ground. Even those who are skeptical of haunted trails report an inexplicable sense of unease, as if the forest itself is aware of every step and every movement. Hikers and visitors have recounted seeing dark shapes flit across the path, always at the edge of vision, vanishing when looked at directly. Sometimes these shadows resemble human forms, elongated or distorted in ways that defy natural explanation. Other times, they take on more abstract shapes, stretching between tree trunks or along rocky outcropping. The effect is disorienting and unnerving, leaving a lingering impression of being followed or observed by unseen eyes. For many, this is the first sign that the trail is not entirely ordinary during the Halloween season. Accompanying the shifting shadows are whispers that seem to emanate from nowhere. Visitors describe hearing faint voices, sometimes speaking in full sentences, other times murmuring incomprehensible sounds. The whispers are often layered, as if multiple entities are speaking at once, echoing through the forest and weaving between the trees. Some hikers report hearing their own names called out softly, while others describe laughter or low groans drifting from areas where no one is present. The whispers are subtle but persistent, creating a psychological tension that builds as the trail winds deeper into the forest. The haunted character of Terrace View Trail is enhanced by its natural features. Steep inclines, dense undergrowth, and twisting paths create moments of disorientation, making it easy for the mind to misinterpret shadows or sounds. Rocks and tree roots can appear as shapes in the corner of one's eye, and sudden movements of leaves or branches mimic human motion. Fog and uneven moonlight further obscure visibility, amplifying fear and anticipation. While these conditions are natural, many visitors believe that the forest's energy itself interacts with the environment, creating phenomena that are genuinely paranormal. Some hikers have described encounters that go beyond ordinary explanations. One reported walking along a particularly narrow section of the trail when a dark, human-like figure appeared in the mist. The figure remained still for several moments, then dissolved into the fog as the hiker approached. Another visitor recounted seeing a cluster of small, flickering lights hovering near a grove of trees, only to vanish when they attempted to follow them. Others have felt cold spots along the path, sudden chills that seem to press against the body without any logical source. These experiences, though fleeting, leave a lasting impression, heightening the trail's haunted reputation. The trail's eerie reputation is also tied to its hidden corners and secluded areas. Small clearings, abandoned benches, and shaded nooks create spaces where the imagination runs wild, and visitors are more likely to experience the inexplicable. Hikers often report feeling compelled to leave these areas quickly, sensing a presence that cannot be seen but is unmistakably there. Some locals believe that these corners are favored by spirits or residual energy from past events in the area, lingering in the woods and waiting to make themselves known during the darker hours of the year. Despite the fear it inspires, Terrace View Trail remains a popular destination for thrill seekers and those fascinated by the supernatural. Many visitors plan trips specifically during the Halloween season, drawn by the promise of eerie encounters, flickering lights, and the thrill of walking a trail that blurs the line between imagination and reality. Some document their experiences online, sharing photographs, videos, and personal stories of shadows, whispers, and mysterious orbs. These accounts continue to reinforce the trail's haunted reputation and encourage others to test their courage along its paths. The combination of natural beauty and unsettling occurrences makes Terrace View Trail a unique haunted location. The interplay of shadows, whispers, and mist creates an atmosphere that challenges the senses and keeps visitors on edge, even for those skeptical of ghosts or paranormal activity. The trail offers a psychological thrill, where the mind reacts to subtle cues in ways that amplify fear and anticipation. In this sense, Terrace View Trail succeeds as both a haunted attraction and a location steeped in mystery, where the ordinary experience of hiking is transformed into something far more intense. For anyone visiting Terrace View Trail during the Halloween season, the experience is as much about atmosphere as it is about specific phenomena. Flickering lights, moving shadows, and whispered voices create an environment where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels thin. The trail encourages caution, respect, and awareness, reminding hikers that even familiar landscapes can transform under certain conditions, whether influenced by psychology, environment, or unexplained forces. Terrace View Trail leaves a lasting impression, a mix of awe and fear that ensures its haunted reputation endures. Creepy Hollow Scream Park in Richmond, Virginia, is a destination that attracts thrill seekers and haunted attraction enthusiasts from across the region. During the Halloween season, the park transforms into a labyrinth of darkened trails, eerie corridors, and isolated paths designed to challenge the bravest of visitors. Flickering lights, fog machines, and unexpected scares are strategically placed along every corner, creating an atmosphere that feels simultaneously theatrical and genuinely unsettling. The park has earned a reputation not just for its entertainment value, but also for the strange, sometimes unexplainable sensations reported by those who wander its haunted grounds. From the moment visitors enter Creepy Hollow, The forested environment is intentionally designed to heighten tension. Shadows stretch unnaturally across the trail, and patches of fog curl along the ground, giving the impression of a landscape in constant motion. The lighting is deliberately inconsistent. Strobe effects flash in rapid bursts, while lanterns cast uneven pools of light that make ordinary objects appear distorted. Many visitors report a sense of disorientation almost immediately, feeling as though the forest is moving around them or shifting in ways that defy explanation. This effect, combined with the sounds of distant groans, chains, and whispered voices, sets the stage for an experience that is as psychologically taxing as it is thrilling. One of the most common phenomena reported at Creepy Hollow is the presence of fleeting shadows. These shadows are described as humanoid in shape but unnaturally elongated, moving quickly and silently between trees. Visitors often see them at the edge of their vision, only for the figures to vanish when looked at directly. Some report shadows that seem to mimic their movements, creating the unnerving sensation of being followed. Even after leaving the trail, the memory of these elusive forms lingers, leaving a lasting impression of being watched in moments of quiet or solitude. The park's auditory elements are equally disturbing. Hidden speakers and actors generate a range of unsettling sounds, from distant screams and moans to the faint laughter of unseen figures. However, many visitors report hearing sounds that cannot be traced to any known source. Footsteps behind them on empty paths, faint whispering in incomprehensible voices, and sudden thuds in the underbrush create an immersive experience that feels impossible to escape. These auditory cues often trigger a fight-or-flight response, heightening the impact of the visual scares and deepening the sense of immersion in a haunted environment. Creepy Hollow's trail design encourages unpredictability, which intensifies the psychological effect on visitors. The path twists through dense woods, rises over uneven terrain, and passes hidden alcoves and abandoned structures. Some areas are narrow and enclosed, forcing hikers to confront the darkness directly, while others open into larger clearings where sudden surprises await. Actors, dressed in elaborate costumes and often using makeup or masks to create grotesque appearances, appear from concealed positions, lunging or stepping into the light to startle unsuspecting guests. These carefully timed scares, combined with the natural features of the forest, produce a sensation that is almost impossible to prepare for, leaving even seasoned visitors on edge. Despite the intentional scares, some experiences at Creepy Hollow seem to transcend theatrical design. Multiple visitors report encounters that cannot be easily explained by actors or props. Strange lights appear and vanish in the trees, cold spots descend abruptly in otherwise warm areas, and some guests claim to have felt invisible hands brush against them while walking the trail. While these experiences may be influenced by the mind's heightened state of fear, the consistency of reports over the years has contributed to the park's eerie reputation, blurring the line between staged entertainment and authentic paranormal sensation. One memorable account comes from a group of friends navigating the trail on a crisp autumn evening. As they approached a clearing surrounded by towering oaks, one of the group noticed a faint, flickering light hovering just above the ground. The light darted between trees with a strange, purposeful movement, disappearing whenever approached. Simultaneously, whispers rose from multiple directions, sounding almost like a conversation that could not be understood. The group hurried forward, yet the sensation of being watched persisted until they exited the forest entirely. For many, such experiences create an adrenaline rush that is thrilling but also deeply unsettling. Creepy Hollow Scream Park also thrives on its reputation for unpredictability. The combination of controlled effects, actors' performances, and the forest's natural atmosphere creates a unique environment where each visit feels different. Even repeat visitors report new scares and subtle variations in shadows, lights, and sounds, reinforcing the sense that the park itself is alive with energy. The interplay between psychological tension and environmental cues ensures that no two experiences are ever the same, making Creepy Hollow a magnet for those seeking a genuinely immersive haunted attraction. The psychological impact of the park is as important as the physical design. The mind's response to darkness, uncertainty, and isolated spaces amplifies every flicker of light and every unexpected sound. Visitors describe racing hearts, heightened senses, and an acute awareness of even the smallest environmental details. The trail's twists and turns, combined with the unpredictability of scares, keep participants on edge, making them highly susceptible to suggestion. As a result, shadows seem to move, lights appear from nowhere, and even ordinary objects can feel threatening. For those who navigate creepy hollow scream parts successfully, the experience is exhilarating, a carefully crafted balance of fear, excitement, and wonder. The forest, the flickering lights, and the hidden alcoves all contribute to an atmosphere that is immersive and intense, and a sense of having entered a world where the ordinary rules of reality no longer fully apply. Camp Cardinal in Williamsburg, Virginia, has earned a reputation as one of the region's most chilling haunted destinations. Its haunted walking trail weaves through dense forests and abandoned campgrounds, offering visitors an experience that blends natural eeriness with carefully orchestrated scares. By day, the camp appears peaceful, with trails winding among towering oaks and pines, the gentle rustle of leaves underfoot, and the occasional call of a bird or squirrel. By night, however, the atmosphere transforms completely. Flickering lights, creaking structures, and the sounds of the forest combine to create an environment where every shadow seems alive and every gust of wind carries whispers from unseen sources. The haunted walking trail at Camp Cardinal is designed to push the limits of fear. The path twists through thick undergrowth, past abandoned cabins, and over uneven terrain. Lanterns flicker intermittently, casting long, shifting shadows across tree trunks and brush. Fog machines introduce pockets of dense mist that obscure vision, creating the impression that something is moving just beyond the reach of one's flashlight beam. Visitors report an immediate sense of unease upon entering the trail, as though the forest itself is aware of their presence. The combination of visual and auditory stimuli heightens the senses, making the smallest movements or sounds feel amplified, and the mind becomes primed to anticipate the unexpected. One of the most frequently reported phenomena on the trail is the presence of flickering lights that seem to defy explanation. Guests describe glowing orbs or lantern-like shapes that appear suspended in midair, drifting between trees, or hovering near abandoned structures. These lights often move in erratic patterns, vanishing the moment anyone approaches. While some may assume these are clever effects or tricks of perception, the consistency of reports has fueled speculation that the lights may be manifestations of lingering spirits or residual energy from the camp's long history. Visitors often find themselves drawn to the lights, compelled by curiosity, only to retreat when the phenomena disappear, leaving an eerie sense of unfinished business. The trail's auditory environment is equally unsettling. Creaking floors and rattling windows seem to echo through the forest, often coinciding with moments when no one else is present. Visitors report hearing footsteps that match their own pace from behind or to the side, only to turn and find the path empty. Whispered voices float among the trees, sometimes indistinguishable and sometimes speaking coherent words that vanish when listeners attempt to focus. These sounds create a profound sense of being followed or observed, reinforcing the notion that the woods are not merely a natural setting, but an active participant in the haunting experience. Many hikers have described encounters with shadowy figures along the trail. These forms are often humanoid, but appear distorted or elongated, slipping between trees or across the fog-covered path. Some witnesses report fleeting glimpses of faces, pale or indistinct, staring from windows of abandoned cabins before vanishing when approached. Others describe figures darting between the trees, moving with unnatural speed or seeming to glide just above the forest floor. Even when actors and effects are present, these experiences leave visitors questioning whether what they saw was staged or genuinely paranormal, blurring the line between fear as entertainment and fear as a visceral reality. The haunted walking trail is carefully designed to maximize unpredictability, which heightens the psychological impact. Narrow passages force visitors to confront darkness directly, while sudden openings reveal hidden scare actors or environmental effects. The layout of the trail ensures that no two walks are identical, and the dense foliage and varying elevations disorient even those familiar with the terrain. Combined with the natural sounds of the forest, rustling leaves, snapping branches, and distant animal calls, the trail fosters a constant state of heightened alertness, where even ordinary features of the environment can seem threatening. Some of the most memorable experiences involve encounters that cannot be easily explained. One visitor reported approaching a dilapidated cabin when a faint light appeared inside. Shadows moved across the walls as though figures were pacing within, yet no one was present when the door was opened. Another group described seeing a cluster of glowing orbs hovering over a small clearing. Accompanied by soft whispers in an unknown language, they attempted to follow the lights, but each orb disappeared upon closer approach, leaving only an empty forest and the lingering impression of being watched. Cold spots are also commonly reported, sudden drops in temperature that feel localized and unnerving, adding a physical element to the already intense sensory experience. The combination of natural and staged elements at Camp Cardinal ensures that every visit is unique, while the haunted walking trail relies on actors, props, and special effects. The forest itself contributes an unpredictable and immersive quality. The flickering lights, shadowy figures, and whispered voices all interact with the psychological state of the visitor, creating moments of fear that feel real, immediate, and personal. Many participants leave the trail exhilarated but shaken, with a deep respect for the forest's atmosphere and a lingering curiosity about what might truly exist beyond the edge of perception. Creeping fog, sudden noises, and shadowy movements reinforce the trail's haunted reputation. The psychological impact of anticipating a scare, combined with the isolation of the forest and its natural eeriness, leaves visitors highly sensitive to every sound and movement. Even after leaving the trail, many report feeling as if something continues to follow them, a residual impression of the wood's unsettling presence. This lasting effect contributes to the legend of Camp Cardinal, ensuring that stories of strange lights, mysterious shadows, and whispered voices are shared year after year. Nightmare in the Hills, located just outside Virginia in the rolling landscape of West Virginia, is a haunted trail that has built a reputation for delivering some of the most intense and immersive scares in the region. Visitors who brave its winding paths are immediately enveloped in an atmosphere thick with fog, flickering strobe lights, and unsettling sound effects. The combination of natural forested terrain and meticulously designed theatrical elements creates a haunting environment where the line between reality and fear becomes almost impossible to distinguish. The trail's reputation has drawn thrill-seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and Halloween adventurers alike, all eager to experience the chills and adrenaline that have made Nightmare in the Hills a staple of haunted attractions. From the outset, visitors are struck by the forest's transformation. By day, the hills appear serene, with dense trees, gentle slopes, and a quiet that encourages reflection. By night, however, the same woods take on an entirely different character. Fog rolls across the path, drifting through the trees and blanketing the ground in a thick, shifting layer. Strobe lights punctuate the darkness in unpredictable bursts, creating sudden flashes that distort shadows and make the familiar landscape seem alien and threatening. Every rustle of leaves, crack of a branch, or movement in the underbrush feels amplified, as if the forest itself is alive with unseen entities. The first encounters that visitors often notice involve flickering lights and shadowy forms. The strobe effects and lanterns cast long, inconsistent shadows, which seem to move independently from their sources. Many hikers report seeing humanoid shapes at the edge of their vision figures that vanish whenever directly looked at, only to reappear in a different location moments later. These fleeting images create a disorienting effect, forcing the mind to question what is real and what is imagined. For those already on edge from the anticipation of the trail, the experience can be profoundly unsettling. Auditory phenomena play a crucial role in heightening the terror along the trail. Hidden speakers, actors, and environmental effects combine to produce a continuous symphony of fear-inducing sounds. Distant screams, rustling foliage, chains dragging across the forest floor, and whispers that seem to come from multiple directions contribute to a heightened sense of paranoia. Visitors frequently report hearing footsteps that mirror their own pace, or faint laughter echoing in areas that appear empty. These auditory cues, both expected and seemingly spontaneous, create the impression of being followed, observed, or stalked by entities that exist just beyond perception. One of the most unnerving aspects of Nightmare in the Hills is the unpredictability of the trail. The path twists and turns, moving from dense forest to small clearings and back again. Narrow passages force visitors to confront darkness directly, while unexpected obstacles and hidden corners amplify the element of surprise. Actors, dressed in elaborate costumes and often using masks or makeup to create grotesque appearances, appear without warning, lunging or stepping into the flickering lights to startle hikers. Yet, despite these controlled scares, many visitors report encounters that feel genuine, experiences that seem beyond the deliberate design of the trail and hint at something more mysterious lurking in the woods. Multiple accounts suggest moments where the environment itself takes on a life of its own. Guests have described small, floating lights moving through the trees, glowing orbs that disappear when approached, and sudden drops in temperature that create localized cold spots. Some hikers feel the sensation of being brushed or touched by unseen hands, prompting a reflexive fear response. Shadows sometimes appear to move in coordination with the visitor's own actions, enhancing the perception of being followed or watched. Even for those familiar with haunted attractions, these moments stand out as deeply unnerving and hard to rationalize. The psychological effect of Nightmare in the Hills is central to its enduring appeal. The human mind is wired to anticipate danger in unfamiliar environments, and the trail exploits this natural response to maximum effect. The combination of darkness, dense foliage, uneven terrain, and unexpected stimuli triggers an acute state of alertness. Every sound and movement is scrutinized, every flicker of light examined, and every shadow interpreted as potential threat. This heightened sensory state amplifies the impact of even the smallest effects, making the experience both thrilling and profoundly immersive. Some visitors have reported encounters that are particularly memorable. One group described reaching a clearing where multiple strobe lights illuminated fleeting figures darting among the trees. The figures seemed almost humanoid, moving with jerky, unnatural motions, vanishing when approached and reappearing just out of reach. Another group recounted hearing unintelligible whispers layered over the sound of their own footsteps, as if the forest itself were communicating with them. Others have felt sudden chills, localized and intense, or experienced a sense of being followed long after leaving the trail. These experiences reinforce the trail's reputation as more than just an attraction, suggesting a lingering, inexplicable energy that pervades the area. Even for repeat visitors, Nightmare in the Hills maintains its unpredictability. Each walk through the forest is unique, with varying positions of actors, different patterns of lights, and subtle environmental changes. The forest itself is a dynamic component, with natural fog, wind, and shadows constantly altering the perception of space. This ensures that no two experiences are identical, and even seasoned hikers find themselves caught off guard. The combination of controlled theatrical elements with the forest's natural eeriness creates an immersive experience that is difficult to replicate elsewhere. Ultimately, Nightmare in the Hills offers a haunted trail experience that blends fear, adrenaline, and psychological tension. Flickering lights, moving shadows, whispered voices, and unexpected encounters combine to keep visitors on edge from start to finish. The trail challenges participants to confront both imagined and real fears, leaving a lasting impression that persists long after the night ends. Whether influenced by design, environmental conditions, or something truly unexplainable, Nightmare in the Hills remains one of West Virginia's most memorable and haunting attractions, captivating those who dare to face its darkness. Markoff's Haunted Forest, located in Leesburg, Virginia, has earned a reputation as one of the most immersive and terrifying haunted attractions on the East Coast. Each year, thrill-seekers flock to the forest to experience a trail that winds through dense, dark woods where flickering lights, hidden actors, and carefully staged effects combine to create an atmosphere of relentless suspense and fear. The forest's natural features, tall trees, uneven ground, and thick underbrush, provide the perfect setting for a haunted experience that keeps visitors on edge from the moment they enter until they reach the trail's end. Beyond the design scares, many guests report experiences that feel genuinely unexplainable, including ghostly figures, disembodied voices, and shadows that seem to move independently of any human presence. From the first steps onto the trail, visitors are immersed in an unsettling environment. Fog machines produce thick clouds that snake along the ground, occasionally drifting into the trees to obscure the path ahead. Lanterns and strobe lights flicker sporadically, casting long shadows and creating the impression that the forest is alive with movement. Every crackling branch or snapping twig is amplified by the surrounding darkness, making ordinary sounds feel ominous and foreboding. The combination of visual, auditory, and environmental stimuli places visitors in a heightened state of alertness, where every shadow, noise, and flicker of light feels significant and potentially threatening. One of the most common reports from visitors is the appearance of shadowy figures. Guests often describe seeing tall, dark shapes moving among the trees at the periphery of vision. These figures may appear humanoid or distorted, sometimes standing completely still before suddenly disappearing when approached. Others report catching glimpses of faces, pale and indistinct, peering from behind trees or over abandoned structures along the trail. The fleeting nature of these sightings makes them especially unnerving, leaving hikers questioning whether what they saw was a trick of light and shadow or something more supernatural. Auditory phenomena are another key element of the forest's haunted reputation. Hidden speakers and natural echoes combine to produce an array of unsettling sounds. Visitors report hearing footsteps that mirror their own pace, whispers in voices that cannot be identified, and occasional cries or moans that seem to drift through the trees. In many cases, these sounds appear to come from multiple directions simultaneously, creating the impression that the forest itself is alive and aware of the visitor's presence. Some hikers even report hearing their own names called softly from behind or to the side, adding to the sense of unease and the psychological tension that permeates the trail. The trail's design contributes heavily to the immersive experience. Narrow paths wind through dense undergrowth, forcing visitors to confront darkness directly and reducing visibility to just a few feet ahead. Occasional clearings provide brief respite, only to reveal sudden surprises. Actors dressed in grotesque costumes emerging from hidden positions, flickering lights that cast eerie shapes on nearby trees, or fog-shrouded props that move unexpectedly. The unpredictability of the layout keeps hikers on edge, ensuring that no one can fully anticipate what awaits around the next bend. This combination of natural and staged elements creates a sense of suspense that remains high throughout the entire walk. Many guests also report phenomena that seem to extend beyond the attraction's intentional scares. Some have experienced cold spots, localized drops in temperature that feel chilling despite the surrounding weather. Others describe feeling touched or brushed by invisible hands, creating a visceral sense of presence in areas where no actor or physical object is present. Flickering lights sometimes appear in areas without any visible source, and the shadows along the trail occasionally move in ways that seem independent of natural causes. These unexplained occurrences add an extra layer of tension, leaving visitors to wonder whether some aspects of Markoff's haunted forests are truly haunted. One particularly memorable account comes from a group of friends who were navigating the trail late in the evening. As they rounded a bend near a dense thicket, they noticed a faint glow in the distance. Moving closer, the light appeared to take the form of a human figure, standing perfectly still. As they approached, it suddenly dissipated into the fog. leaving the friends startled and unsure whether they had seen an actor or something more spectral. Moments later, whispers emerged from multiple directions, overlapping and indistinguishable, prompting the group to quicken their pace. Even after leaving the trail, they reported feeling as though unseen eyes were still following them, an impression that stayed with them long after the night ended. Markoff's Haunted Forest maintains its appeal by combining predictably staged scares with elements that are unpredictable and psychologically potent. Each visit is unique. The placement of actors, the movement of fog, and the behavior of lights change from night to night, while the forest itself provides natural variations that influence perception. This ensures that even repeat visitors are caught off guard, as no two experiences are ever exactly the same. The trail's design capitalizes on natural human responses to darkness, isolation, and unexpected stimuli, creating an experience that is both thrilling and deeply immersive. The forest's haunted atmosphere is heightened by its dense vegetation and secluded layout. Isolated clearings, shadowed alcoves, and winding trails provide opportunities for both intentional scares and unexplained experiences. Visitors often report feeling watched in these areas, sensing a presence even when no actor is visible. The combination of physical isolation, low visibility, and heightened sensory input amplifies the psychological tension, making ordinary elements like trees, roots, and fog appear threatening or alive. Leech Woods, nestled in Leesburg, Virginia, has earned a reputation as one of the most unsettling and mysterious forests in the region, known for its dense trees, winding paths, and a chilling atmosphere that seems to thicken after dark. The woods have long drawn thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Visitors report that, as soon as they step onto the trail, a sense of unease settles in, as though the forest itself is aware of their presence. Flickering lights, strange shadows, and unexplainable sounds combine with the natural features of the landscape to create an experience that blurs the line between imagination and the supernatural. The forest's eerie reputation begins at its entrance, where towering oaks and pines cast long, dark shadows even in the fading light of evening. The trail itself is narrow and winding, forcing hikers to navigate carefully while remaining alert to every sound. As darkness falls, the woods transform. The natural shapes of trees and brush become distorted. Shadows stretch and twist, and the path ahead seems to shift unpredictably. Locals report that the air grows colder than expected, often accompanied by a damp chill that creeps into the bones. Many visitors feel a sense of being watched, as though unseen eyes are tracking their every movement along the trail. One of the most commonly reported phenomena in Leech Woods is the appearance of flickering lights. Visitors describe small orbs or lantern-like glows that appear to float between the trees or hover just above the ground. These lights often seem to move with intention, darting from one location to another and vanishing when approached. Witnesses have reported seeing multiple lights simultaneously, creating an almost hypnotic effect that makes it difficult to focus on any one point. The lights appear both near the path and deeper within the forest, giving the impression that the woods themselves are alive with some unknown energy. Equally disturbing are the shadowy figures that many hikers report seeing. These shapes are often humanoid but seem distorted, stretching unnaturally between the trees or appearing and disappearing without warning. Some visitors claim to have seen the outlines of entire figures, sometimes appearing to observe them from a distance before vanishing into the undergrowth. Others describe fleeting glimpses of faces, pale and indistinct, peering from behind trees or over fallen logs, even when carefully watching for actors or props. These figures seem to defy explanation, leaving an unsettling sense of mystery and fear in their wake. Auditory experiences in Leech Woods are as chilling as the visual phenomena. Many hikers report hearing footsteps echoing their own, as if someone or something is following just behind. Whispered voices are often heard, sometimes carrying faint, unintelligible words, other times repeating names or phrases that cannot be explained. Rustling leaves, snapping branches, and the sudden groan of a tree add to the sense of unpredictability and isolation. For some visitors, these sounds appear to come from multiple directions at once. intensifying the feeling of being surrounded or stalked. The forest's layout plays a significant role in heightening fear. The trail is uneven, with hidden dips, roots, and rocks that can trip the unwary. Narrow passages funnel visitors past dense thickets where shadows move with the fog. And occasional clearings create moments of exposure where the wood's unsettling energy seems concentrated. These clearings often become focal points for strange activity, including sudden flickering lights, whispers, or glimpses of shadowy figures. The unpredictability of the trail keeps hikers on high alert, making each step feel precarious and each sound potentially threatening. Some of the most unnerving accounts involve experiences that feel distinctly paranormal. One group reported walking past a cluster of trees when a cold, invisible force brushed past them, as though something unseen had moved alongside them. At the same moment, small lights appeared, drifting between the trunks before disappearing when approached. Another visitor described feeling footsteps match their own pace on an empty path, accompanied by soft, unintelligible whispers from every direction. These experiences, while terrifying, contribute to the wood's enduring reputation, as locals and repeat visitors alike share stories that grow more mysterious with each telling. The psychological impact of leech woods cannot be underestimated. Darkness, isolation, and heightened senses combine to make even ordinary features of the forest appear threatening. The mind instinctively anticipates danger in unfamiliar terrain, and the forest exploits this response to maximum effect. Shadows seem to move on their own, sounds are amplified, and flickering lights create constant uncertainty. This psychological tension is heightened by the unpredictability of the environment, making each step along the trail a test of courage and perception. Repeat visitors often report new and different experiences, suggesting that the forest's energy is dynamic and unpredictable. One night, a trail may be filled with flickering lights, the next dominated by unexplained sounds or shadowy forms. Even those familiar with the layout find themselves caught off guard by sudden changes in visibility, subtle movements in the undergrowth, or strange sensations in the air. This sense of unpredictability reinforces the forest's reputation as a truly haunted place, where fear is both expected and unavoidable. Leech Woods stands as a prime example of how environment, perception, and folklore can combine to create a haunted experience that lingers in the memory. Flickering lights that vanish when approached, shadowy figures that slip between trees, footsteps that echo without source, and whispered voices carried on the wind all work together to immerse visitors in a world where reality feels uncertain. For those who dare to walk its trails, the forest offers a chilling, unforgettable adventure, leaving a lasting impression that haunts both mind and imagination long after the hike ends. Field of Screams, located in Maryland near the Virginia border, has long been recognized as one of the region's most immersive haunted attractions. Its winding trail cuts through dense woods and open fields, offering a chilling combination of natural darkness and expertly staged horrors. Each year, thrill-seekers flock to the attraction, eager to test their courage against the forest's eerie ambience, flickering lights, and terrifying creatures. While the trail is carefully designed with actors, props, and special effects, many visitors report experiences that feel genuinely unsettling, including ghostly apparitions, disembodied voices, and strange movements that seem impossible to explain. From the moment visitors step onto the trail, a sense of tension fills the air. Tall trees and thick underbrush cast deep shadows that stretch across the narrow path, while fog machines create pockets of mist that obscure vision and distort perception. Strobe lights flash unpredictably, illuminating the darkness in brief bursts and causing long shadows to twist and stretch across the terrain. Every rustling leaf, snapping branch, and distant noise becomes amplified, making the forest seem alive with unseen activity. The combination of visual and auditory effects primes visitors' minds to anticipate fear at every turn, heightening both suspense and the sense of vulnerability. One of the most frequently reported phenomena along the trail is the appearance of flickering lights. Guests describe small, orb-like glows drifting through the trees or hovering just above the ground. These lights often seem to move with intention, disappearing when approached and reappearing moments later in another location. Some hikers report seeing multiple lights at once, moving in erratic, almost intelligent patterns that are difficult to explain. While some may assume these effects are purely staged, the consistency of reports suggests that visitors' minds may be attuned to subtle environmental cues that create a perception of something more supernatural. Shadowy figures are another common experience for those walking the trail. Witnesses often describe humanoid shapes moving at the edge of their vision, only to vanish when directly observed. Others report seeing pale, indistinct faces emerging from the fog or peering from behind tree trunks, leaving an unsettling impression of being watched. These fleeting images are especially unnerving because they appear outside the range of the staged scares, blurring the line between deliberate fright and genuine paranormal activity. Even repeat visitors often find themselves questioning whether what they see is real or imagined. Auditory phenomena along the trail add another layer of terror. Disembodied footsteps echo through the trees, sometimes matching the pace of those walking the trail, creating the sensation of being followed. Whispered voices, unintelligible but distinctly human, seem to come from all directions at once. Some hikers report hearing their own names called softly in the distance, or faint cries and groans that appear to emanate from empty spaces. These sounds, combined with the natural noises of the forest, amplify the sense of unpredictability and isolation, making each step along the trail feel tense and precarious. The design of the trail itself contributes to the fear. Narrow, twisting paths funnel visitors through dense vegetation, while sudden clearings expose them to open spaces where the forest's shadows and fog feel more concentrated. Hidden actors dressed in grotesque costumes leap out unexpectedly, adding moments of adrenaline-fueled terror. Even though much of the fright is staged, visitors report encounters that seem beyond the control of the attraction, such as lights that appear in areas with no equipment, shadows moving independently, or sounds that cannot be traced to any source. These experiences contribute to the legend of Field of Screams as a location where the ordinary rules of perception no longer apply. Cold spots are another frequently mentioned phenomenon. Hikers describe sudden drops in temperature that seem localized and intense, creating a physical sense of unease. Some visitors report feeling as though they are being touched or brushed by unseen hands, prompting instinctive reactions of fear and flight. Combined with flickering lights and shadowy movements, these experiences intensify the overall sensation that the trail is alive with unseen presences. Psychological tension is central to the attraction's impact. Darkness, isolation, and heightened alertness force visitors to scrutinize every sound and movement, turning even the smallest stimuli into potential threats. Flickering lights distort perception, shadows seem to shift, and auditory cues can't always be localized. This interplay between expectation and uncertainty keeps hikers in a state of continuous suspense, where fear is both anticipated and immediate. Many visitors recount particularly memorable experiences that linger long after leaving the trail. One group reported approaching a small clearing when a dense mist rolled in, accompanied by the faint glow of multiple lights drifting between the trees. They saw shadowy figures moving among the fog and heard whispers that seemed to surround them. Attempts to approach the figures caused them to vanish, leaving the group shaken and questioning what they had witnessed. Another visitor described footsteps following their own on a narrow path, accompanied by soft, unintelligible murmurs. Even after leaving the trail, the sense of being watched persisted, creating an after effect that many describe as equally unsettling as the experience itself. The unpredictability of the trail ensures that no two visits are the same. Actors, props, and lighting setups are rotated and varied, while the forest itself contributes natural variability through fog, wind, and shifting shadows. This dynamic environment keeps even seasoned visitors on edge, creating moments of fear that feel immediate and unique. The combination of human creativity and the forest's inherent eeriness produces an immersive haunted experience that is both thrilling and psychologically intense. Ultimately, Field of Screams offers an unforgettable journey through a forest where every sense is engaged and every instinct is challenged. Flickering lights, shadowy figures, disembodied voices, and sudden chills all work together to create an environment where reality feels uncertain and danger seems omnipresent. For those seeking a memorable haunted adventure, the trail delivers suspense, fear, and exhilaration, leaving visitors with lasting memories of a place where the line between staged horror and something truly mysterious is impossible to define. The forests of Virginia are steeped in history, folklore, and tales of the supernatural, and few locations capture this eerie blend more vividly than the area known as Ghosts of Forests Past. These woods, winding and dense, hold stories that span centuries, where the echoes of battles, lost lives, and untold tragedies seem to linger among the trees. Visitors to these forests often speak of experiences that defy explanation, including sightings of spectral soldiers, ghostly livestock, and even phantom ships drifting above the tree line. The combination of natural isolation, historical weight, and reported paranormal activity gives the forests a haunting atmosphere that has intrigued and terrified generations. Walking into these woods, one immediately senses the weight of history. The dense canopy above filters sunlight into streaks that shift as the day progresses, creating moving shadows that dance across the forest floor. Narrow, twisting trails lead deeper into the woods, often ending at clearings where the silence is profound, punctuated only by the occasional snap of a branch or rustle of leaves. The air itself seems to carry whispers of the past, and many who have ventured into the forest claim to feel a presence, an unseen audience observing their every movement. Among the most widely reported phenomena in Ghosts of Forests Past are ghost ships. Locals have long told stories of apparitions of wooden sailing vessels floating above the treetops on foggy evenings. Witnesses describe seeing masts, sails, and hulls illuminated by an otherworldly glow, gliding silently as if through a spectral mist. These phantom ships appear without warning and vanish just as suddenly, leaving observers questioning whether their eyes played tricks or whether the spirits of those lost at sea were reclaiming a familiar domain inland. The ghostly vessels are said to move with a slow, deliberate grace, creating a surreal juxtaposition against the dense forest that surrounds them. Another persistent legend is that of British Revolutionary War soldiers. These specters are frequently described in full regalia, red coats, tricorn hats, and muskets at the ready. Hikers and visitors have recounted seeing groups of these soldiers marching silently through fog-laden clearings, sometimes retracing the steps of battles long past. Others describe hearing the clatter of boots along forest trails, the unmistakable sound of orders being shouted, and even the rhythmic cadence of drums signaling commands. The soldiers, it is said, appear trapped in a temporal loop, endlessly reenacting moments of conflict from centuries ago, oblivious to the passage of time and to the living observers who stumble upon them. Perhaps the most unsettling tales involve headless cow ghosts. These livestock specters are believed to be remnants of tragic accidents or livestock lost during storms, appearing in open fields or grazing near shadowed tree lines. Witnesses describe the shock of seeing a headless bovine silhouette moving silently among the trees, sometimes accompanied by low, mournful moans. Unlike the ghost ships or soldier apparitions, these figures seem to interact subtly with the forest environment, grazing or wandering as if unaware of the living. Their presence adds a layer of uncanny unpredictability, combining a rural familiarity with supernatural horror that is uniquely haunting. Auditory phenomena further enhance the sense of unease in Ghosts of Forests Past. Unexplained footsteps, rustling foliage, and distant echoes are frequently reported, often synchronized with visual sightings. Even in areas free of actors or staged effects, visitors report the sensation of being followed or observed, a feeling that persists long after leaving the forest. These auditory cues, combined with the visual phenomena, create an immersive and often disorienting experience that challenges the senses and heightens the psychological tension. The forest's natural layout amplifies its haunted reputation. Dense undergrowth, Uneven terrain and winding paths restrict visibility, forcing visitors to navigate carefully while remaining hyper-aware of every sound and movement. Occasional clearings, often appearing suddenly, allow glimpses of sky or distant trees, but also expose hikers to potential surprises, shadowy movements, fleeting figures, or strange lights that seem to drift without source. These environmental conditions, paired with the legends themselves, create an atmosphere in which even ordinary occurrences, like the movement of wind through the branches, take on an eerie, almost sentient quality. Psychologically, the forest exerts a powerful influence. The anticipation of encountering the unexplained primes visitors to notice anomalies, turning natural shadows and sounds into potential hauntings. The combination of isolation, darkness, and expectation heightens adrenaline and vigilance, intensifying both fear and curiosity. Repeat visitors report different experiences each time, from ghostly apparitions appearing in unexpected places to auditory phenomena that shift with the wind. This unpredictability contributes to the forest's enduring mystique, ensuring that no visit feels entirely predictable or safe. Stories from the forest are shared widely among locals and thrill-seekers alike. Accounts of ghost ships hovering above the treetops, soldiers retracing their final marches, and headless livestock wandering in open fields are passed down, often growing more elaborate with each retelling. Some hikers describe the sensation of being watched, followed, or subtly guided along the trail by unseen presences. Others recount moments when flickering lights or sudden mists appear at precisely the moment they feel most vulnerable, heightening the sense that the forest itself is an active participant in the haunting. Ultimately, Ghosts of Forests Past represents more than just a collection of eerie stories. It is a living testament to the intersection of history, memory, and the unexplained. The combination of spectral sightings, auditory anomalies, and the forest's naturally foreboding environment creates a deeply immersive experience that lingers in the imagination. For those who walk its trails, the woods offer an encounter with the unknown, a place where the past is never fully buried and where the legends of ghost ships, soldiers, and headless cows continue to haunt, captivate, and unsettle all who enter. The forests of Virginia hold a mysterious and unsettling reputation, where centuries of history blend with legends of the supernatural. Among these eerie locations, the area known as Ghosts of Forests Past stands out for its spectral tales and haunted ambience. Here, the trees are dense, the paths twist unpredictably, and the whispers of history seem to linger just beneath the surface. Visitors to these woods often recount experiences that defy explanation: ghostly apparitions, strange lights, disembodied sounds, and the feeling of being watched. The combination of natural isolation, historical resonance, and reported paranormal phenomena creates a chilling environment that has fascinated locals, historians, and thrill-seekers for generations. As one enters the forest, the thick canopy overhead filters sunlight into fragmented beams, casting shifting shadows across the uneven forest floor. The winding trails lead deeper into the woods, where the silence is punctuated only by the occasional rustle of leaves, the crack of a branch, or the distant call of a bird. Yet, beyond these ordinary sounds, many visitors report a presence, an almost palpable awareness that they are not truly alone. Locals speak of the forest as a place where the past never fully dies, and where echoes of previous centuries still walk alongside the living. Perhaps the most enduring legend of Ghosts of Forests Past involves ghost ships. On foggy evenings, hikers have reported glimpses of wooden vessels seemingly floating above the treetops, their sails glowing faintly in an otherworldly light. Witnesses describe the ships moving slowly and silently, as though navigating a spectral sea in the midst of the forest. Some have claimed to see the shadowy forms of sailors aboard, tending to phantom ropes or gazing toward the horizon. These sightings are fleeting. By the time visitors attempt to approach, the ships dissolve into the mist, leaving an eerie impression that lingers long after the encounter. The ghost ships, it is said, are remnants of maritime tragedies, vessels whose spirits now drift between the trees, caught between worlds. Equally haunting are reports of British Revolutionary War soldiers, dressed in their distinctive red coats and tricorn hats. These apparitions are often seen marching silently through the forest, muskets in hand, seemingly trapped in a never-ending reenactment of battles long past. Visitors have described hearing the rhythmic crunch of boots along forest paths, commands shouted in distant echoes, and even the faint beating of drums that seem to originate from nowhere. Some hikers report observing small skirmishes between phantom soldiers, as if the forest itself has preserved a fragment of history, replaying moments of tension and conflict for those who dare to watch. The most unsettling of the legends, however, are the headless cow ghosts. These apparitions are said to wander the open fields and clearings near the forest's edge, sometimes venturing into the woods themselves. Witnesses describe seeing livestock silhouettes, pale and headless, moving silently among the trees. Some accounts include low, mournful moans, while others recall the sensation of the animal's gaze following them through the underbrush. Unlike the ghost ships or soldier apparitions, these figures appear more directly tied to the physical landscape, interacting subtly with the environment as they wander or graze. Their presence combines rural familiarity with supernatural horror, creating an uncanny experience that lingers long after the encounter. Auditory phenomena add another layer of unease to the forest's reputation. Visitors report hearing footsteps that mirror their own, faint whispers in languages or voices they cannot recognize, and sudden groans or cries that seem to echo through the trees. These sounds often come from multiple directions at once, giving the impression that the forest is alive with unseen observers, even in areas without actors, props, or obvious disturbances. Hikers report the feeling of being followed, watched, or subtly guided along the trail. The combination of these auditory cues with the forest's natural sounds amplifies the sense of tension and disorientation, creating a fully immersive haunting experience. The forest's layout contributes significantly to its haunted atmosphere. Narrow, winding trails limit visibility, while dense undergrowth and uneven terrain make every step uncertain. Occasional clearings offer brief moments of exposure, where shadows seem to gather and move independently, and the fog thickens unnaturally. These environmental elements, combined with the folklore of ghost ships, soldiers, and headless cows, encourage heightened vigilance and anxiety. Even familiar features of the landscape, the sway of branches, the glint of moonlight on leaves, or the reflection of water, can take on an unsettling, almost sentient quality. Psychologically, the forest has a profound impact on visitors. Darkness, isolation, and heightened anticipation amplify ordinary stimuli, turning mundane movements into threats and subtle sounds into ominous signals. Shadows appear to shift of their own accord, whispers seem to follow from every direction, and the fog distorts perception. Repeat visitors often report unique experiences each time, suggesting that the forest's energy is dynamic, capable of eliciting new fears and sensations. This unpredictability ensures that each journey through the woods is distinct, with no way to anticipate what phenomena staged, imagined, or unexplained might occur. Stories of ghosts of forests past are passed along in the local community and online, growing more elaborate with each retelling. Accounts of ghost ships hovering above the treetops, revolutionary soldiers marching in fog-laden clearings, and headless cows wandering the underbrush contribute to the forest's chilling mystique. Visitors consistently report the sensation of being observed or followed, of lights flickering in the periphery, or of whispers carried on the wind at unexpected moments. These tales ensure that the forest maintains a reputation as a place where history, folklore, and the unexplained converge. Virginia's forests have long been the setting for stories that blur the line between history and the supernatural, and few places are as steeped in eerie legend as the area known as the ghosts of forests past. Here, dense woodlands stretch for miles, their twisted paths and shadowed clearings providing the perfect backdrop for centuries-old tales of haunting. From ghost ships drifting through fog to spectral soldiers endlessly marching, and even the unsettling presence of headless cow ghosts. These forests have become a repository for stories that both terrify and fascinate visitors. Each legend seems to layer upon the next, creating a deeply atmospheric and unsettling environment that captures the imagination and lingers long after one leaves the woods. The first impression upon entering these forests is one of isolation. Sunlight filters through a thick canopy, breaking into streaks that shift as the day passes. The trails wind unpredictably, leading hikers through dense underbrush and across uneven terrain, often ending in clearings where the stillness is profound. Here, the silence feels unnatural. Even the smallest sounds, a snapping twig, a rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, are amplified, creating the sense that the forest is aware of every movement. Visitors often report feeling watched, a sensation that seems to follow them as they move deeper into the trees, hinting at presences unseen but unmistakably felt. One of the most frequently recounted phenomena is the appearance of ghost ships. On fog-laden evenings, visitors have reported seeing vessels seemingly floating above the treetops. These apparitions often appear as wooden sailing ships, complete with sails and masts, glowing faintly in an unearthly light. Witnesses describe the slow, deliberate movement of these ships across the mist, as though they navigate a spectral sea that has intruded upon the forest. Some have claimed to see shadowy figures aboard, adjusting sails or gazing toward the horizon. By the time observers approach, the vessels vanish, leaving a lingering sense of awe and dread. Local lore suggests that these ghost ships are tied to mariners lost to storms or shipwrecks, their spirits now wandering far from the sea. Equally chilling are the reports of British Revolutionary War soldiers haunting the woods, dressed in distinctive red coats and tricorn hats. These apparitions are often seen marching in formation, muskets in hand, seemingly trapped in an eternal reenactment of battles long past. Hikers describe the rhythmic crunch of boots on fallen leaves, distant shouts of orders, and the faint echo of drums signaling commands. Some witnesses report seeing skirmishes play out between these phantoms, as though the forest has preserved fragments of history, replaying moments of tension and conflict for those who chance upon them. The soldiers' appearances are fleeting yet vivid, leaving a haunting impression that is difficult to shake. Among the most unsettling legends are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral livestock are said to wander open fields and even venture into the forest, appearing pale and disembodied. Witnesses describe the unnerving sight of these animals moving silently among trees, sometimes accompanied by low, mournful moans. Unlike the ghost ships or soldier apparitions, the headless cows seem more physically tied to the landscape, grazing or wandering as if unaware of human observers. Their presence combines the familiarity of rural life with a sense of supernatural horror, creating a uniquely haunting effect that continues to disturb those who see them. Auditory phenomena play a significant role in the forest's eerie reputation. Hikers report footsteps that mirror their own, whispers in languages or voices they cannot identify, and sudden, unexplained groans or cries. Often, these sounds seem to come from multiple directions simultaneously, giving the impression that the forest is alive with unseen entities. Some visitors claim to hear their own names whispered softly, or faint laughter drifting through the trees. Even in areas free from human interference, these auditory experiences amplify fear and suspense, adding depth to the forest's unnerving character. The forest's natural environment further contributes to its haunted atmosphere. Narrow, winding paths restrict vision, while dense undergrowth and uneven terrain amplify the sense of vulnerability. Occasional clearings expose visitors to open spaces where shadows gather and fog thickens, creating illusions of movement or presence. Even ordinary elements such as the sway of branches in the wind, the reflection of moonlight on leaves, or the glint of water can take on an otherworldly quality. These factors, combined with centuries of folklore, heighten the perception of danger and supernatural activity. Psychologically, the forest exerts a powerful influence on visitors. Darkness, isolation, and expectation prime the senses to detect anomalies, turning subtle movements or sounds into potential threats. flickering shadows, shifting shapes in the corner of the eye, and whispers carried by the wind create a continuous state of heightened alertness. Repeat visitors often report different experiences each time, from ghostly apparitions appearing unexpectedly to strange sounds emanating from no discernible source. This unpredictability ensures that the forest remains a place of suspense, where every step could reveal something extraordinary or terrifying. Stories of ghosts of forests past have been passed down for generations, evolving and growing more elaborate with each retelling. The ghost ships drifting above the trees, soldiers marching through foggy clearings, and headless cows wandering underbrush form a tapestry of folklore that intertwines history with the supernatural. Visitors consistently report lingering sensations of being watched, lights flickering in the periphery, and whispers drifting just out of reach. These experiences reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where the past and the unknown coexist. Virginia's forests have long been steeped in stories that straddle the line between history and the supernatural, and few areas capture this eerie essence more than what locals call the ghosts of forests past. Nestled deep in the Peace State's dense woodlands, this stretch of forest is renowned for tales of spectral sightings that span centuries, including ghost ships drifting above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers marching silently along fog-laden paths, and headless cow ghosts wandering the fields. These stories, passed down through generations, have earned the forest an ominous reputation and created a place where history and the unexplained converge in haunting ways. Walking into these woods, one immediately senses a difference from ordinary forests. The canopy above is thick and gnarled, allowing only narrow slivers of sunlight to filter through. Shadows stretch and shift across winding trails, giving the sense that the trees themselves are watching. The undergrowth is dense, and the trails twist unexpectedly, leading hikers into clearings that seem almost staged, as if the forest has been designed to amplify unease. Even on a quiet day, the forest carries an almost tangible weight, a presence that lingers in the air and follows visitors along their path. Those who have ventured far enough report an unsettling feeling, a mix of anticipation and dread, as though they are walking not just through trees, but through the remnants of the past itself. Among the most famous legends of ghosts of forests past are the sightings of ghost ships. These apparitions appear most often on foggy evenings, drifting silently above the treetops. Witnesses describe vessels with sails billowing despite the absence of wind, glowing faintly with a pale, ethereal light. Shadowy figures can sometimes be seen aboard these phantom ships, moving as though tending to ropes or scanning the horizon for something lost. Observers often report that the ships move slowly and deliberately, and before anyone can approach, they vanish as suddenly as they appeared. Local folklore suggests these spectral vessels belong to sailors lost in storms centuries ago, their spirits trapped between worlds and wandering inland, far from the seas that claimed them. Equally chilling are the accounts of British Revolutionary War soldiers. These apparitions are often seen dressed in red coats and tricorn hats, muskets in hand, marching silently along forest trails. Hikers have described hearing the crunch of boots on leaves, orders shouted in the distance, and the faint sound of drums that seem to emerge from nowhere. Some report witnessing entire skirmishes unfold, as if the forest has preserved fragments of history for those sensitive enough to perceive them. The soldiers move with uncanny precision, yet they are completely oblivious to the living observers around them, caught in a ghostly loop of time that repeats battles and maneuvers from centuries past. Perhaps the most unnerving of all legends is that of the headless cow ghosts. These apparitions are said to roam open fields and occasionally wander into the forest itself. Witnesses describe seeing pale silhouettes of cattle moving silently between the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Some accounts include faint, mournful moos, and a sense that the animals are aware of human presence, though they remain indifferent to it. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, these spectral cows interact subtly with the environment, blending naturalistic behavior with an uncanny, otherworldly presence. Their eerie existence contributes to the forest reputation for unpredictability and heightens the sense that anything can occur in these woods. Auditory experiences further amplify the forest's haunted reputation. Visitors report hearing footsteps that echo their own, whispers in unknown languages, and sudden groans or cries that seem to originate from no specific source. Some hikers have claimed to hear their own names whispered softly, while others describe laughter or singing drifting faintly through the trees. These phenomena often occur in combination with visual sightings, creating a fully immersive and disorienting experience that keeps even the most skeptical visitors on edge. The natural layout of the forest adds to the eerie ambience. Narrow, twisting paths limit visibility, dense underbrush obscures the terrain, and sudden clearings expose hikers to open spaces where shadows appear to gather unnaturally. Fog often drifts through the forest, thickening near streams or low-lying areas, and moonlight reflects off leaves and branches in ways that make shapes appear to move independently. Even ordinary movements of animals or the sway of branches can take on an otherworldly quality when combined with the stories and legends that pervade the forest. Psychologically, the forest exerts a profound effect on visitors. Darkness, isolation, and expectation heighten the senses and prime the mind to perceive anomalies. Flickering shadows, indistinct shapes, and untraceable sounds can all trigger a heightened state of awareness, making ordinary forest phenomena seem supernatural. Repeat visitors often report unique experiences each time, suggesting that the forest is dynamic in the impressions it leaves. This unpredictability ensures that no journey through the woods is the same, maintaining the forest's reputation as a place where the past and the unknown coexist in uneasy harmony. The stories of ghosts of forests past have been passed down through generations, becoming part of local folklore. Tales of ghost ships drifting above trees, soldiers marching through fog, and headless cows roaming fields have been recounted countless times, each retelling adding new detail or emphasis. Visitors often leave with lingering impressions, convinced they have felt, watched, followed, or witnessed something beyond explanation. The forest legends are self-reinforcing. The more people hear of them, the more intensely they perceive unexplained phenomena. Virginia's forests hold a reputation that is as haunting as it is mysterious, with dense woodlands that have witnessed centuries of history, conflict, and life. Among these forests, there is a stretch known by locals as the ghosts of forests past, a place where the boundary between the living and the spectral seems to blur. Visitors to this forest often report experiences that defy explanation, ranging from fleeting glimpses of apparitions to eerie sounds that appear to come from nowhere. The area is especially famous for tales of ghost ships drifting above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers marching in the mist, and headless cow ghosts wandering open fields. These legends, passed down through generations, create an unsettling yet fascinating tapestry that draws thrill-seekers, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts alike. The first thing one notices upon entering these woods is the oppressive stillness. Thick canopies of twisted branches filter sunlight into fragmented shafts, casting moving shadows on the uneven forest floor. Paths wind unpredictably, often leading to sudden clearings or unexpected descents, and the dense underbrush muffles ordinary sounds, making every small noise, snapping twigs, rustling leaves. Distant bird calls resonate more ominously than it should. Many visitors report an almost palpable sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow their movements along every path. Locals say this is the forest's way of reminding travelers that it is more than a collection of trees, that the land itself preserves echoes of the past. Perhaps the most striking phenomenon reported in the ghosts of forests past is the appearance of ghost ships. On foggy evenings, hikers have described seeing what appeared to be wooden sailing vessels floating silently above the treetops. The sails glow faintly in a ghostly light, and shadowy figures sometimes move across the decks as if adjusting ropes or scanning the horizon. Witnesses report that the ships move deliberately, almost as though navigating an invisible sea through the forest. But before anyone can approach, the vessels vanish, leaving only the mist and a lingering sense of awe. Folklore suggests these apparitions belong to sailors lost in storms long ago, whose spirits now wander far from the waters that claimed them. Equally unnerving are sightings of British Revolutionary War soldiers. These apparitions are often described in vivid detail. Red coats, tricorn hats, muskets slung across shoulders. Visitors have reported hearing the steady crunch of boots on leaves, orders shouted in the distance, and the faint, rhythmic beat of drums that seem to emerge from nowhere. Some claim to have witnessed entire phantom skirmishes, as though the forest is replaying history for those attuned enough to notice. The soldiers march with precision, but are oblivious to the living, caught in an endless reenactment of battles that shaped the region. The combination of historical weight and supernatural presence gives the forest a chilling, almost sacred aura. Perhaps the most unsettling of all are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral livestock are said to wander fields and occasionally enter the forest, their pale silhouettes moving silently among trees or abandoned clearings. Witnesses often describe a low, mournful moaning accompanying their presence. Unlike the ghost ships or soldiers, the cows seem tethered to the physical landscape, moving naturally yet unnervingly, blurring the line between the mundane and the supernatural. Their appearance is unpredictable, and many who have glimpsed them speak of a lingering sense of unease that persists long after leaving the woods. Auditory experiences further amplify the forest's eerie reputation. Many hikers report hearing footsteps that echo their own whispers in unknown languages, and sudden groans or cries with no apparent source. Occasionally, these sounds are specific. A name spoken softly, a laugh that stops as soon as it is acknowledged. Some visitors describe hearing ghostly conversations in the distance, or the echo of distant marching boots. These sounds, combined with fleeting visual phenomena, create a fully immersive and disorienting experience, heightening the tension and unease. The forest's natural layout enhances the atmosphere of dread. Narrow, winding trails limit visibility, and dense undergrowth obscures terrain, forcing travelers to proceed cautiously. Clearings appear unexpectedly, exposing open areas where shadows seem to gather unnaturally. And fog often drifts through the forest in thick, swirling patterns. Moonlight, reflecting off leaves or water, can create optical illusions. While the gentle sway of branches may seem like shifting forms, even ordinary features take on an almost sentient quality when seen through the lens of legend and local stories. Psychologically, the forest has a profound impact on those who enter. Darkness, isolation, and anticipation heighten the senses, making ordinary movements or sounds appear supernatural. Shadows shift in ways that seem intentional, and faint noises are interpreted as the steps or voices of unseen observers. Repeat visitors often describe entirely new experiences each time, suggesting that the forest's influence is dynamic, responding to perception and expectation. This unpredictability reinforces the forest's reputation as a place where reality and legend coexist uneasily. Stories of the ghosts of forests past are woven deeply into local lore. Accounts of ghost ships drifting over treetops, soldiers marching in misty clearings, and headless cows wandering the landscape have been told for generations. Every telling adds nuance and heightens the forest's mystique. Visitors who venture into these woods frequently leave with a sense of lingering presence, convinced that they have seen or felt something beyond explanation. Virginia's forests are a tapestry of history, mystery, and lingering spirits, but few areas are as haunting as the region known to locals as the ghosts of forests past. These woods are shrouded in centuries of legend, where dense trees, winding trails, and fog-laden clearings create a setting ripe for paranormal tales. From ghost ships drifting silently above the treetops, to British Revolutionary War soldiers endlessly marching, and even headless cow ghosts wandering the landscape. The area has inspired countless stories that blur the line between history and the supernatural. Visitors and locals alike have long shared chilling accounts of experiences in these forests, reinforcing their reputation as some of the most haunted woodlands in Virginia. The forest's atmosphere is immediately striking. Thick canopies stretch overhead, filtering sunlight into thin, shifting beams that make shadows dance across the forest floor. The trails twist and turn, often vanishing into dense underbrush or leading into hidden clearings. Each step seems amplified. The snap of a twig or rustle of leaves echoes unnaturally in the silence. Many visitors report a pervasive feeling of being watched, a sensation that intensifies as they move deeper into the forest. There is a sense that these woods are alive not just with wildlife, but with the remnants of the past, and that the land itself preserves echoes of events long gone. One of the most captivating and eerie legends is that of the ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers and explorers have reported seeing spectral sailing vessels floating above the treetops. The ships appear fully formed, with billowing sails and shadowy figures moving across the decks. Witnesses describe the vessels drifting slowly, almost deliberately, as though navigating an invisible river through the forest. Just as suddenly as they appear, the ships vanish, leaving only mist and the lingering impression of something extraordinary. Folklore holds that these ghost ships belong to sailors lost to storms centuries ago, their spirits carried far from the waters that once claimed them. The sighting of a ghost ship is often accompanied by a chilling hush, as though the forest itself holds its breath while the apparition passes. Equally unnerving are the spectral British Revolutionary War soldiers said to march through the forest. Observers describe the soldiers in full red coats and tricorn hats, muskets slung over their shoulders, moving in formation with precision. Hikers often report hearing the faint crunch of boots on leaves, muffled orders, and the distant echo of drum beats. Some claim to witness ghostly skirmishes replayed in miniature, battles frozen in time yet visible to the living. These soldiers move with a purposeful rigidity, entirely unaware of the modern world around them, as if trapped in an endless loop of conflict. Their presence combines historical gravity with a spectral chill, leaving those who encounter them with a sense of awe and unease. Perhaps the most bizarre of the forest's spectral tales are the headless cow ghosts. These apparitions are often seen in open fields or wandering into the forest itself. Witnesses describe pale silhouettes of cattle moving silently among the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Some report hearing low, mournful moos that seem to carry through the woods. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, the headless cows are closely tied to the landscape, blending familiar rural imagery with the unnatural, creating a deeply unsettling effect. Their presence emphasizes the unpredictability of the forest, where the ordinary and the paranormal intersect in ways that are impossible to anticipate. Auditory phenomena add another layer to the forest's haunting reputation. Visitors frequently report footsteps that mirror their own, whispers in languages no one recognizes, and sudden groans or cries with no discernible source. Some hikers describe hearing their names whispered softly on the wind, or faint laughter echoing from distant trees. These sounds often appear alongside visual phenomena, creating a fully immersive, disorienting experience. The forest seems to manipulate perception, playing on expectation and fear, and leaving even the most skeptical with a lingering sense of unease. The natural characteristics of the forest intensify these experiences. Narrow trails and dense undergrowth limit visibility, while occasional clearings expose hikers to open spaces where shadows seem to move independently. Fog drifts in thick, undulating layers, swirling through the trees and giving ordinary elements an otherworldly quality. Moonlight glinting off leaves, water, or rocks can create illusions of movement, while the sway of branches becomes indistinguishable from figures passing in the distance. Every aspect of the environment works in tandem with the forest's legends, creating an experience that feels alive with history and mystery. Psychologically, the forest has a profound effect on visitors. Repeat visitors often report different phenomena each time, suggesting that the forest's influence is both unpredictable and dynamic. This unpredictability reinforces the forest's reputation as a place where the line between the living. The stories of the ghosts of forests past have been passed down through generations, growing in richness and detail. Tales of ghost ships drifting over treetops, soldiers marching silently through mist, and headless cows haunting fields are woven into the cultural memory of the region. Each retelling strengthens the forest's mystique, making it a destination for those seeking a brush with the unknown. Visitors leave with lingering impressions, shadows at the edge of vision, whispers on the wind, and a sense of history that refuses to stay buried. Virginia is home to forests steeped in history, legend, and lingering mysteries. Among these, a stretch of woodland known as the Ghosts of Forests Past has earned a reputation that sends shivers down the spines of locals and visitors alike. This forest is said to be haunted by spectral phenomena that range from ghost ships drifting silently above the treetops to British Revolutionary War soldiers marching endlessly through foggy clearings, and even headless cow ghosts roaming the undergrowth. The tales of these apparitions, passed down over generations, have become inseparable from the very identity of the forest, creating a place where history and the supernatural collide in chilling ways. Upon entering these woods, visitors notice an immediate difference. The canopy overhead is dense and twisted, filtering sunlight into narrow beams that shift across the forest floor with an almost deliberate movement. Shadows cling to the twisted roots and fallen branches, giving the impression that the trees themselves are watching. Trails meander unpredictably, often disappearing into thick underbrush or leading to sudden clearings where the silence is heavy and palpable. Many who have ventured into these woods report a sense of being observed, as though unseen eyes track every step. The atmosphere is dense with anticipation, a quiet tension that hints at the extraordinary, the unexplained, and the haunted. One of the forest's most famous legends is the sighting of ghost ships. These vessels appear on foggy nights, seemingly floating above the treetops, with sails billowing even when the air is still. Shadowy figures can be seen moving across the decks, performing tasks as if tending to an unseen voyage. Witnesses describe the ships as drifting deliberately. Yet before anyone can approach, the apparitions vanish without a trace, leaving only mist and the faint echo of the uncanny. Folklore suggests that these ghostly ships belong to sailors who perished in violent storms centuries ago, their spirits wandering far from the oceans that claimed them. The sightings are often accompanied by a profound sense of awe and dread, as if the forest itself is holding its breath for the spectral travelers to pass. Equally unsettling are the accounts of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Witnesses describe them dressed in red coats and tricorn hats, muskets slung across their shoulders, moving in perfect formation along the forest trails. Many hikers report hearing the crunch of boots on dry leaves, distant shouted orders, and the faint rhythm of drums that seem to come from nowhere. Some even claim to see ghostly skirmishes, as if the forest preserves fragments of long-past battles, replaying them for those sensitive enough to perceive the echoes. The soldiers march with eerie precision, entirely oblivious to the living, caught in an unending loop of history. Their presence combines the weight of real-world conflict with supernatural unease, leaving observers with a mixture of fascination and terror. Perhaps the most bizarre of the forest apparitions are the headless cow ghosts, seen wandering fields and occasionally venturing into the forest itself. These spectral cattle are often described as pale silhouettes moving silently through the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Some witnesses report low, mournful moos that seem to resonate with the forest, enhancing the unnerving sensation of their presence. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, the headless cows feel tethered to the physical landscape, blending familiar rural imagery with a supernatural twist that unsettles even the most seasoned visitors. Their unpredictable appearance reinforces the forest's reputation as a place where anything may happen, where the ordinary and the otherworldly coexist. Auditory phenomena in the forest amplify its haunting quality. Many report hearing footsteps that echo their own, whispers in languages no one recognizes, and sudden cries or groans that appear to come from nowhere. Hikers have recounted hearing their names called softly, or faint laughter echoing between the trees. These sounds often coincide with fleeting visual phenomena, creating an immersive and disorienting experience. The forest seems to manipulate perception, heightening tension and fear, and keeping even the most rational observer on edge. The natural layout of the forest contributes to the atmosphere of dread. Twisting, narrow trails limit visibility, while dense undergrowth obscures terrain, making movement slow and careful. Clearings appear unexpectedly, exposing open spaces where shadows seem to gather unnaturally. Fog drifts through low areas and clings to streams, swirling between trees in patterns that make shapes appear and disappear. Moonlight glinting off leaves or water can create illusions of movement, while the sway of branches mimics shifting figures. Every element of the environment, from natural sounds to shadows and mist, enhances the forest's eerie character. Psychologically, the forest exerts a profound effect. Darkness, isolation, and anticipation heighten perception, causing ordinary movements and sounds to be interpreted as supernatural. Shadows, faint noises, and unexpected visual cues all feed into the mind's sense of unease. Repeat visitors often describe unique experiences each time, suggesting that the forest's influence is dynamic, responding to perception and expectation. This unpredictability reinforces the forest's reputation as a place where the line between the living and the spectral is blurred, leaving visitors with a lingering sense of tension and wonder. Stories of the ghosts of forests past have been preserved over generations, passed down through oral history, folklore, and modern recounting. Tales of ghost ships drifting above treetops, soldiers marching through foggy clearings, and headless cows haunting abandoned pastures are repeated frequently, adding richness and depth to the forest's mystique. Visitors leave with lasting impressions, shadows at the edge of vision, whispers on the wind, and a sense of history that refuses to remain buried. Virginia's forests have long been places where history and legend intertwine, creating landscapes that feel alive with stories of the past. Among these woodlands, a stretch known as the Ghosts of Forests Past stands out for its reputation as one of the most haunted areas in the state. Here, dense trees, winding trails, and mist-filled clearings are said to conceal a variety of spectral phenomena. Locals and visitors alike report sightings that defy explanation. Ghost ships drifting above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers endlessly marching through the fog, and headless cow ghosts wandering open fields. These tales, passed down through generations, give the forest a chilling aura that continues to captivate and terrify. The moment one steps into these woods, the atmosphere is unmistakable. Trails wind unpredictably, sometimes vanishing into dense undergrowth or opening into sudden clearings where silence hangs heavily. Every sound is amplified: the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, and many visitors report an unsettling feeling of being watched. The forest seems to hum with the memory of centuries, as if it holds the imprints of every life and every story that has passed through its boundaries. One of the most famous legends associated with the ghosts of forests past is the appearance of ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers describe seeing wooden sailing vessels hovering above the treetops. The sails appear to move in the windless air, and shadowy figures are sometimes seen on deck, performing tasks or gazing into the distance. Witnesses often report that the ships drift deliberately along invisible currents, and then vanish as suddenly as they appear, leaving only mist and the chilling sense that the impossible has just been witnessed. Folklore suggests that these ghostly ships belong to sailors lost in storms centuries ago, whose spirits now wander far from the oceans that claimed them. The sight of one of these vessels is unforgettable, often leaving a lingering feeling of awe, mixed with unease. Equally haunting are sightings of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Visitors describe them in full red coats, tricorn hats, and with muskets slung over their shoulders, moving in formation as if still locked in battle. Witnesses report hearing the crunch of boots on leaves, shouted orders in the distance, and the faint echo of drums that seem to come from nowhere. Some hikers claim to see entire skirmishes playing out, frozen in time, as if the forest is holding on to a fragment of history. The soldiers appear entirely unaware of the living, trapped in an endless loop of past conflicts. Their presence imbues the forest with both historical weight and a supernatural chill, leaving those who encounter them with a sense of awe and dread. Perhaps the most unsettling spectral phenomenon is the headless cow ghost. These apparitions are said to roam fields and occasionally wander into the forest itself. Witnesses describe pale silhouettes of cattle moving silently among trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Many report low, mournful moos echoing through the woods, creating a sense of deep unease. Unlike the ghost ships or soldiers, these headless cows feel bound to the land, blending the familiar with the unearthly in ways that disturb even seasoned visitors. Their unpredictable appearances reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect. The auditory experiences in the forest further heighten its haunted reputation. Many hikers report hearing footsteps that mimic their own whispers in unknown languages, and sudden groans or cries that have no discernible source. Names are sometimes called softly on the wind, and faint laughter can echo from the depths of the trees. These sounds often coincide with fleeting visual phenomena, creating a fully immersive and disorienting experience. The forest seems almost sentient, capable of amplifying fear and expectation, leaving even rational observers uneasy. The natural features of the forest contribute to its unnerving atmosphere. Narrow trails and dense undergrowth limit visibility, while clearings expose open areas where shadows appear to gather unnaturally. Fog drifts in thick waves, weaving through the trees and obscuring distances, making shapes appear and disappear in an instant. Moonlight reflecting off leaves, water, or rocks creates illusions of movement, while the sway of branches mimics passing figures. Every element of the environmental light, shadow, sound, and terrain works in tandem with the forest's legends, intensifying the feeling that the woods are alive with memory and mystery. The psychological impact of the forest is profound. Darkness, isolation, and heightened anticipation make ordinary events like shifting shadows or distant noises seem charged with supernatural meaning. Repeat visitors often report entirely new experiences, suggesting that the forest's influence is dynamic, changing with perception and expectation. This unpredictability reinforces the sense that the ghosts of forests past are never entirely absent, and that the forest itself mediates between the living and the spectral. Virginia's forests are steeped in history, folklore, and lingering mysteries, but few places carry a reputation as eerie as the area known as the ghosts of forests past. These woods, dense with ancient trees and winding trails, are said to be haunted by a variety of spectral phenomena. Locals and visitors alike have recounted sightings of ghost ships drifting silently above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers marching endlessly through foggy clearings, and headless cow ghosts roaming pastures and forest floors. The combination of historical events, natural isolation, and unexplained occurrences has made this region one of the most haunted in Virginia, leaving those who enter with a sense of wonder and unease that lingers long after they leave. From the moment one steps into these woods, the atmosphere feels charged. Thick canopies filter sunlight into narrow, shifting beams that cast strange shadows across the forest floor. Trails twist and disappear into dense undergrowth, sometimes opening into sudden clearings where the silence is so heavy it almost seems tangible. Visitors often report the sensation of being watched, a prickling awareness that unseen eyes are tracking their movements. Every sound, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, or the distant call of an animal seems amplified, and ordinary events take on an uncanny weight. It is a forest where history and the supernatural feel intertwined, and where the past refuses to remain buried. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are sightings of ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers have described seeing fully formed sailing vessels hovering above the treetops. The sails appear to catch an invisible wind, and shadowy figures move across the decks, as if tending to tasks long forgotten. Witnesses often describe the vessels drifting slowly, deliberately, before vanishing suddenly into the mist, leaving only the impression that something impossible has occurred. Folklore suggests that these ghost ships belong to sailors lost in storms centuries ago, their spirits wandering far from the oceans that claimed them. Encountering one of these phantom ships is a breathtaking experience, both terrifying and mesmerizing, a fleeting glimpse of the past made manifest. Equally unnerving are reports of British Revolutionary War soldiers. These apparitions are described in vivid detail. Red coats, tricorn hats, muskets slung over their shoulders, marching with rigid precision through misty clearings. Visitors have reported hearing the crunch of boots on leaves, faint drum beats, and muffled commands echoing through the trees. Some recount seeing ghostly skirmishes, the soldiers replaying fragments of battles that occurred centuries ago. The apparitions are oblivious to the living, trapped in an endless loop of conflict, and their presence imbues the forest with a tangible weight of history. Encountering them is both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling, a stark reminder that some echoes of the past refuse to fade. Among the strangest of the forest's apparitions are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral animals are said to wander pastures and occasionally venture into the woods themselves. Witnesses describe pale, shapeless silhouettes moving silently through fields or grazing in abandoned clearings. Low, mournful moos are sometimes heard drifting through the trees, enhancing the sense of unease. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, the headless cows seem anchored to the land itself, blending the familiar with the unnatural in ways that disturb even the most skeptical observers. Their unpredictable appearances reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect, where anything might emerge from the shadows. Auditory phenomena in the forest heighten the haunting effect. Many visitors report footsteps that echo their own, whispers in unfamiliar languages, and sudden cries or groans with no identifiable source. Names are said to be called softly on the wind, and faint laughter sometimes drifts between the trees. Often, these sounds coincide with visual phenomena, creating a disorienting and immersive experience. The natural environment amplifies the forest's spectral qualities. Twisting, narrow trails limit visibility, while dense undergrowth obscures familiar terrain. Open clearings are rare, but when they appear, shadows often seem to gather unnaturally within them. Fog rolls through low areas, swirling between the trees and turning ordinary shapes into figures that appear to move on their own. Moonlight glinting off leaves, water, or rocks produces illusions of movement, while swaying branches mimic passing figures. Every aspect of the environment, light, shadow, sound, and terrain works in harmony with the legends, making the forest feel alive with both memory and mystery. Psychologically, the forest exerts a powerful influence. Darkness, isolation, and anticipation heighten awareness, making ordinary sounds and sights feel charged with supernatural significance. Shadows shift at the edge of vision, leaves seem to whisper, and distant noises become voices. Repeat visitors often report different experiences each time, suggesting that the forest's influence is dynamic, changing with perception and expectation. This unpredictability strengthens the forest's reputation as a space where the line between the living and the spectral is always blurred. The tales of ghost ships, revolutionary soldiers, and headless cows have been preserved through generations, blending history, folklore, and anecdotal accounts. Each retelling adds richness to the forest's reputation, drawing both thrill-seekers and those with a fascination for the unexplained. Visitors leave with lasting impressions, shadows that linger at the edge of vision, whispers carried on the wind, and a palpable sense of history that refuses to stay buried. Virginia is a state rich with history, but few places capture the imagination and the chill of the unknown, like the area known as the Ghosts of Forests Past. Nestled among winding trails and dense woodlands, this forest is shrouded in mystery and legend. Tales of spectral phenomena have circulated here for generations, drawing the curious, the brave, and the unwary into a landscape where history and the supernatural collide. Visitors and locals alike tell stories of ghost ships drifting above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers marching endlessly through fog-laden clearings, and headless cow ghosts wandering pastures and forest floors. Each account adds to the sense that this forest is a place where the past refuses to remain buried, and where the line between the living and the spectral is blurred. Stepping into these woods, one immediately senses the difference. A dense canopy of twisted branches filters sunlight into narrow, moving beams, casting fleeting shadows across the forest floor. Trails meander unpredictably, disappearing into thick undergrowth or opening suddenly into small clearings where silence is nearly oppressive. Visitors frequently describe an unsettling sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes track every step, every sound, the snap of a twig, the whisper of leaves in the wind. The distant call of a bird feels amplified, more significant than it should, as though the forest itself is alive with memory and anticipation. One of the forest's most enduring legends is the appearance of ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers have reported seeing fully formed sailing vessels floating silently above the treetops. The sails appear to catch a wind that isn't there, and shadowy figures move about on deck, performing tasks long forgotten. Witnesses describe these ghostly ships as gliding deliberately, as though following an invisible course, before vanishing suddenly into the mist. Folklore suggests that these ships carry the spirits of sailors who perished centuries ago in violent storms, wandering far from the oceans that claimed them. The vision of such a vessel, momentary yet vivid, leaves an unforgettable impression of awe, mixed with dread. Equally unsettling are sightings of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Witnesses recount glimpses of red-coated soldiers marching in perfect formation through foggy clearings, muskets slung over their shoulders, and tricorn hats perched atop heads obscured by mist. Some hikers report hearing the rhythmic crunch of boots on the forest floor, distant shouted commands, or the faint beat of drums echoing through the trees. Occasionally, ghostly skirmishes play out, fragmentary scenes of battle, frozen in time, invisible to the living, yet palpable to those who enter the forest. These apparitions seem completely unaware of the present, replaying a chapter of history over and over, leaving observers with an eerie mixture of fascination and fear. The most bizarre of the forest's spectral residents are the headless cow ghosts. These apparitions roam open fields and occasionally wander into the woods themselves. Witnesses describe pale ethereal silhouettes moving silently through grass or grazing in abandoned clearings. Low, mournful moos sometimes echo through the trees, reinforcing a sense of unease. Unlike the ghost ships or soldiers, these cattle appear tethered to the landscape, blending the familiar with the otherworldly in ways that are deeply unsettling. Their unpredictable movements and occasional appearance near trails reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the supernatural coexist, and where anything might emerge from shadowed corners. Auditory phenomena also contribute to the forest's haunting atmosphere. Visitors report footsteps that seem to follow their own, whispers in languages no one understands, sudden groans, or distant cries that cannot be traced to a source. Names may be called softly on the wind, or faint laughter drifts from unseen corners. Often, these sounds are accompanied by fleeting visual phenomena, creating a disorienting and immersive experience. Many hikers leave the forest with the impression that it is sentient in some way, actively shaping perceptions and amplifying unease. Narrow trails and dense undergrowth obscure vision and make navigation slow and deliberate. Open clearings, though rare, feel strangely empty, as if shadows gather within them. Fog drifts through the woods, winding around trees and across streams, creating constantly shifting shapes that appear to move on their own. Moonlight glinting off leaves, water, or rocks produces illusions of motion, while swaying branches resemble figures passing in the distance. Every element of the environment, light, shadow, sound, and terrain interacts with the legends to create a sense that the forest itself is alive with echoes of the past. Psychologically, the forest exerts a profound influence. Darkness, isolation, and heightened anticipation cause ordinary occurrences, like rustling leaves or shifting shadows, to take on supernatural significance. Visitors often perceive the forest differently each time they enter, suggesting that the environment responds to expectation and perception. This unpredictability reinforces the idea that the ghosts of forests past are never entirely absent, and that the forest serves as a threshold between the living and the spectral. The stories of ghost ships, revolutionary soldiers, and headless cows have persisted through generations, preserved in folklore, oral history, and personal accounts. Each retelling adds layers to the forest's mystique, attracting visitors eager to witness the unexplained. People leave these woods carrying vivid impressions, flickering shadows at the edge of vision, whispers on the wind, and the uncanny awareness of history refusing to fade. Virginia's forests are more than just a tangle of trees and winding trails. They are repositories of history, legend, and the unexplained. Among these woodlands, one area stands out for its chilling tales and persistent reports of paranormal activity. The region known as the Ghosts of Forests Past. For generations, locals and visitors alike have spoken of ghost ships gliding silently above the treetops. British Revolutionary War soldiers endlessly marching through fog-draped clearings, and headless cow ghosts roaming the forest floor. The stories combine history, folklore, and the inexplicable, creating an atmosphere that is simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. The moment a person steps into these woods, the eerie ambience becomes palpable. Dense canopies filter sunlight into narrow, shifting beams, casting fleeting shadows across uneven terrain. Trails twist and curve unpredictably, disappearing into thickets or opening into unexpected clearings where the air feels unnaturally heavy. Every sound is magnified: the snap of a branch underfoot, the rustle of leaves, or the distant call of a bird. Visitors frequently describe the sensation of being observed by unseen eyes, a prickling awareness that they are not alone. The forest, with its combination of natural beauty and hidden dangers, feels like a place where the past refuses to remain buried. One of the forest's most enduring legends is that of the ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers have reported seeing full sailing vessels hovering above the treetops. The ship's sails appear to catch an invisible wind, and shadowy figures move across the decks, as if carrying out tasks long forgotten. Witnesses describe the ships drifting deliberately along a silent, unseen current before vanishing suddenly into the mist. Local folklore suggests these phantom ships carry the spirits of sailors who perished centuries ago, bound forever to wander far from the oceans that claimed them. The fleeting glimpses of these vessels leave an indelible impression, an unsettling mixture of awe, wonder, and fear. Equally chilling are sightings of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Visitors recount glimpses of red-coated soldiers marching in precise formations through fog-laden clearings. Muskets hang over their shoulders, tricorn hats atop their heads, and the sound of boots crunching on leaves seems to follow hikers as they move through the forest. Some have even reported hearing faint drum beats and shouted commands, as if caught in a long-forgotten battle. Occasionally, ghostly skirmishes are observed, with soldiers frozen mid-action, oblivious to the living who intrude upon their timeless loop. These apparitions carry with them the weight of history, leaving observers with an unsettling awareness that the past is never truly gone. Perhaps the strangest of the forest's hauntings are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral creatures are said to roam fields and occasionally wander into the dense forest itself. Witnesses describe pale, shapeless silhouettes moving silently among the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Low, mournful moos often echo through the woods, heightening a sense of dread. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, these cows seem tethered to the land itself, blending the familiar with the supernatural in ways that deeply unsettle visitors. Their unpredictable appearances reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where ordinary life intersects with the unexplained. Auditory experiences are a key component of the haunting. Footsteps that echo one's own, whispers in languages no one understands. Sudden cries or groans with no source are often reported. Names may be carried softly on the wind, and faint laughter can drift between trees. These sounds frequently coincide with fleeting visual phenomena, creating a fully immersive and disorienting experience. Many visitors describe the forest as almost sentient, amplifying fear and expectation, leaving even the most skeptical observers on edge. The forest's physical environment amplifies its spectral qualities. Narrow, twisting trails limit visibility, while dense undergrowth conceals both natural and unnatural elements. Open clearings are rare, but unnervingly empty when found, as if shadows gather deliberately within them. Fog rolls through low-lying areas, winding around trees and across streams, creating shifting shapes that often appear to move with intention. Moonlight glinting off leaves or rocks casts illusions of figures in motion, while swaying branches can mimic passing silhouettes. Every element, light, shadow, sound, and terrain works in harmony with the forest's legends, creating a sense that the woods are alive with memory and mystery. Psychologically, the forest exerts a profound influence. Darkness, isolation, and heightened anticipation turn ordinary sounds and sights into phenomena charged with supernatural significance. Visitors often report that no two trips into the forest are alike, suggesting that perception and expectation play a role in the forest's effects. This unpredictability reinforces the idea that the ghosts of forests past are never absent and that the forest serves as a liminal space where the living encounter echoes of the dead. The stories of ghost ships, revolutionary soldiers, and headless cows have endured for generations, passed down in oral histories and retellings that grow richer with each telling. Each account adds to the forest's mystique, attracting thrill seekers, history enthusiasts, and those drawn to the paranormal. Visitors leave with vivid impressions, fleeting shadows at the edge of vision, whispers on the wind, and the eerie awareness that the forest itself remembers. Virginia's forests hold secrets that span centuries, but none are as chilling and mysterious as those whispered about in the area known as the ghosts of forests past. This stretch of dense woodlands, winding trails, and hidden clearings has long been the setting for stories that blend history, folklore, and unexplained phenomena. Locals and visitors alike speak of ghost ships gliding silently above the treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers endlessly marching through fog-laden clearings, and headless cow ghosts roaming the forest floor. These legends have persisted for generations, creating an atmosphere in which the line between the living and the spectral seems almost invisible. From the moment one steps into these woods, the difference in ambience is unmistakable. Thick branches form a near-impenetrable canopy, filtering sunlight into shifting beams that cast moving shadows across the forest floor. Trails twist unpredictably, disappearing into dense undergrowth or opening suddenly into secluded clearings where the air feels unusually heavy. Every sound, the snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the distant caw of a bird feels amplified, and ordinary occurrences take on an almost supernatural significance. Many visitors describe a prickling sense of being watched, as though unseen eyes follow each movement, a sensation that grows with every step deeper into the forest. Among the most enduring tales are the sightings of ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers have described seeing full sailing vessels hovering silently above the treetops. The sails appear to catch an invisible wind, and shadowy figures move across the decks, performing tasks long forgotten. Witnesses report that the ships drift deliberately along invisible currents before vanishing without a trace into the mist. Folklore suggests that these vessels are manned by the spirits of sailors who perished centuries ago in violent storms, bound to roam far from the oceans that claimed them. The sight of these phantom ships leaves an unforgettable mixture of awe, fear, and wonder in those who encounter them. A fleeting window into a past that refuses to rest. Equally chilling are the apparitions of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Hikers have recounted seeing red-coated soldiers marching in precise formations through foggy clearings. Muskets hang over their shoulders, tricorn hats crown their heads, and the crunch of boots on leaves echoes faintly through the trees. Some report hearing distant drum beats, muffled commands, and the sounds of skirmishes, as though witnessing fragments of battles replayed across time. Encountering them leaves a powerful impression, combining historical resonance with the undeniable weight of the supernatural. Among the forest's most unsettling phenomena are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral animals are said to wander open fields and occasionally venture into the woods themselves. Witnesses describe pale, eerie silhouettes moving silently among the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Lo, Mournful moods sometimes drift through the forest, creating a dissonant, haunting atmosphere. Unlike the ghost ships or soldiers, these cows seem intrinsically tied to the land, blending the familiar with the otherworldly in ways that are deeply unsettling. Their unpredictable movements reinforce the forest's reputation as a place where the ordinary and the supernatural intersect, where anything might emerge from the shadows. Auditory phenomena further heighten the haunting. Many visitors report footsteps that echo their own, whispers in languages no one understands, sudden groans, or distant cries with no visible source. Names may be carried softly on the wind, and faint laughter drifts between the trees. These sounds often accompany fleeting visual phenomena, creating a fully immersive, disorienting experience. The forest seems almost sentient, amplifying fear and expectation, leaving even skeptical visitors unsettled and alert to every movement in the shadows. The forest's natural features contribute to its unnerving qualities. Narrow, twisting trails limit visibility, while dense undergrowth obscures the familiar and the strange alike. Open clearings are rare, but feel strangely empty when discovered, as if shadows gather deliberately within them. Fog drifts through low-lying areas, curling around tree trunks and across streams, creating shapes that seem to move with intention. Moonlight glinting off leaves or rocks produces illusions of figures in motion, while swaying branches mimic passing silhouettes. Every element, light, shadow, sound, and terrain interacts with the forest's legends, crafting an environment that feels alive with memory, mystery, and the unknown. Psychologically, the forest exerts a profound effect. Darkness, isolation, and anticipation turn ordinary sights and sounds into moments charged with supernatural significance. Visitors often report that no two experiences are alike, suggesting that perception plays a role in the forest's power. This unpredictability reinforces the idea that the ghosts of forests past are never absent, and that the woods serve as a threshold where the living brush against echoes of the dead. Stories of ghost ships, revolutionary soldiers, and headless cows have endured through generations, passed down in oral histories, local legends, and personal accounts. Each retelling adds depth to the forest's mystique, attracting thrill seekers, history enthusiasts, and those drawn to the paranormal. Hikers and explorers leave the woods carrying vivid impressions, fleeting shadows at the edge of vision, whispers on the wind, and an uncanny awareness that history is not silent but alive in the forest. Virginia's forests are steeped in centuries of history, but few are as haunted or mysterious as the region known locally as the ghosts of forests past. Stories of ghost ships drifting silently above treetops, British Revolutionary War soldiers endlessly marching through misty woods, and headless cow ghosts wandering the forest floor have been passed down through generations. For those who venture into these woods, the experience is both mesmerizing and unnerving, as history, folklore, and the unexplained seem to intertwine. From the moment one steps into the forest, its eerie presence is undeniable. A thick canopy of branches filters sunlight into fragmented, moving beams that cast shadows which seem to shift and breathe. Trails wind unpredictably, disappearing into dense undergrowth or opening abruptly into secluded clearings where the air grows unnaturally heavy. Every sound, the snap of a twig underfoot, the whisper of leaves in the wind, the distant cry of a bird seems amplified. Visitors often describe the sensation of being watched, a prickle along the skin as though invisible eyes are following their every step. The forest, with its combination of beauty and hidden dangers, feels alive with memory, as though the past itself has left an indelible mark. One of the most enduring and chilling legends is that of the ghost ships. On foggy nights, hikers have reported seeing fully formed sailing vessels hovering silently above the treetops. The sails seem to catch a wind that does not exist, and shadowy figures move across the decks as if performing tasks from another era. Witnesses describe the ships gliding along an invisible current, deliberate and purposeful, before vanishing suddenly into the mist. Local folklore claims these spectral vessels carry the spirits of sailors lost to storms centuries ago, bound to roam far from the oceans that claimed them. The sudden appearance of a ghost ship is breathtaking, blending awe and fear in a moment that feels both real and impossible. Equally unnerving are the sightings of British Revolutionary War soldiers. Visitors recount glimpses of red-coated troops marching in formation through foggy clearings. Muskets slung across shoulders, tricorn hats perched atop their heads. Some report hearing the rhythmic crunch of boots on leaves, the faint beat of distant drums, and muffled commands carried on the wind. Occasionally, ghostly skirmishes replay themselves in fragmented glimpses, soldiers frozen mid-battle, oblivious to the living observers. These apparitions seem trapped in a timeless loop, replaying moments from a turbulent era, leaving those who witness them with a sense of awe mingled with dread. Perhaps the strangest of the forest's hauntings are the headless cow ghosts. These spectral animals wander open fields and sometimes creep into the woods themselves. Witnesses describe pale, ethereal shapes moving silently among the trees or grazing in abandoned clearings. Low, mournful moos echo through the forest, enhancing the unsettling atmosphere. Unlike ghost ships or soldiers, these cows appear intrinsically tied to the land itself, bridging the familiar and the supernatural in ways that are deeply disconcerting. Their unpredictable movements and eerie presence reinforce the sense that anything might emerge from the shadows in these woods. Auditory phenomena also add to the haunting reputation of the forest. Visitors report footsteps that seem to echo their own whispers in unknown languages, sudden groans, and distant cries with no visible source. Names are sometimes carried softly on the wind, and faint laughter drifts between the trees. Often, these sounds coincide with fleeting visual phenomena, creating a disorienting, immersive experience. Many hikers describe the forest as sentient, responding to anticipation and fear, making even the most skeptical observer alert to every movement and sound. The physical environment of the forest magnifies its spectral qualities. Narrow, twisting trails obscure vision. Dense undergrowth hides both natural and unnatural movements. And open clearings feel uncomfortably empty, as if shadows gather there deliberately. Fog drifts through low-lying areas, curling around tree trunks and streams, producing shapes that appear to move independently. Moonlight, glinting off leaves, rocks, or water creates illusions of movement, while swaying branches can resemble passing figures. Every element, light, shadow, sound, and terrain interacts with the forest's legends, creating the impression that the woods themselves are alive with memory and mystery. Psychologically, the forest exerts a powerful influence. Darkness, isolation, and heightened anticipation turn ordinary sights and sounds into moments charged with supernatural significance. Visitors often notice that each journey through the forest is different, suggesting that perception plays a role in the haunting. This unpredictability reinforces the notion that the ghosts of forests past are never truly absent, and that the woods function as a threshold where the living encounter echoes of the dead. The stories of ghost ships, revolutionary soldiers, and headless cows have endured through generations, preserved in folklore, oral history, and first-hand accounts. Each retelling enriches the forest's mystique, drawing thrill seekers, history enthusiasts, and those intrigued by the paranormal. People leave these woods carrying vivid impressions, shadows that flicker at the edge of vision, whispers that seem to follow them, and the uncanny awareness that history is not silent but alive in the trees. As the last embers of our campfire flicker and the forest falls into an unsettling silence, we bid farewell to these haunted trails and the restless spirits that inhabit them. Virginia's woods are more than just trees and underbrush. They are living memories of a past that refuses to be forgotten. If you dare to walk these paths, remember to tread lightly, for the shadows may be watching, waiting for the next curious soul to wander too close. Until our next eerie adventure, keep your lanterns close and your wits sharper. Good night, and may your dreams be free of the flickering lights that haunt the midnight woods.